Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Rugby World Cup. This one taken part as a part of Pool A, and it is Italy taking on the Namibians. Now, there is an interesting feel for this game because Namibia, they have never got themselves a win in a Rugby World Cup. But looking through at their side, they certainly have potential of trying to cause a massive upset here. Although the Italians, they will be feeling confident. They'll be looking forward to their next couple contests where they can try and build that momentum towards what could possibly be a quarter-final spot. But looking through at the starting lineup, first of all, for the home side, well, the considered home side. In this case, the Italians, it will be Fischetti, Nicotera, and Ferrari as the front row, Dino Lamb, and also it will be Ruza at number 5. So I believe that the locking duo, the advantage, would just go in favour of the Italians. They will certainly be liking their set play in this game. Sebastian Negri at number 6, Michel Lamaro, the captain, at 7, and then it is Canoni at number 8, Stephen Varney and Paolo Garabisi, quite a young combination at 9-10, but that is something that has worked for the Italians in the last few games that they've played, is having that slightly younger combo, the fearless youth of the Italian side. Could be what helps them over the line here. Maurici and Juan Inacio Brix in the midfield, alongside Monty Ioane at the back, Capuzzo out on the other wing, and Tommaso Allen at number 15. Looking through at this Namibian side. Now, I haven't really had the pleasure of being able to call a Namibian game as of yet, so some of the names may be a little bit shaky, so I do apologise for that in advance. But this front row, it is Sethi at number 1, Van Yardsfield at number 2, and Kutsia as the number 3. Now, they have talked about Johannes Kutsia before this game being a very dangerous scrummager. He'll be going head-to-head up against Danilo Fischetti, so it will certainly be a big tester for him. But we hear the crowd erupt as these two sides make their way out onto the field. I believe quite a few Italians have made the trip to France, and I believe there's a few Namibians in attendance as well. Ludic at number 4 with Univi, I believe it is, at number 5. Conradi at 6, Retief, and also it is Hardwick at number 8. Now, Richard Hardwick, we've actually seen quite a bit of him in the past down south, so looking forward to seeing what he can do for the Namibians. It will be Stevens at number 9 with the youngster Tian Swanepoel, does play for the Lions throughout the URC. Burger in the midfield alongside the captain Diesel at 13, and then Grayling, Mutin out on the right, and of course the experience of Devan Rizzo at the back for the Namibians, looking to put on a show. But looking through at the chat we have got there, what are you streaming on? Says Darren Links. So for me here in New Zealand, I am watching on Sky Sports. So there are a few options around the world to be able to watch these games of the Rugby World Cup. The best bet is to check out the Rugby World Cup app or the website, and it will tell you exactly where you can watch it, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. Missed the stream yesterday, mate. The French aren't as strong as I thought. Well, they were very promising. I thought the boys did well, says Chronic Underachiever. That's the thing. It's tricky for the ABs at the moment because they have to make sure a guaranteed win up against the Italians is just around the corner, because if they aren't able to do that, Italy have a very good shot of making it through. So I feel like they've put a little bit of added pressure on themselves, the All Blacks. But maybe that's what they need, a little bit of a kick up the backside so that they're ready to go for their next game. Come on, Namibia, says AC. And there we have got Brandon in the chat. He said, hi, welcome in. Hiya, people. Greetings, Hamish. Says Charles there. Mornings from Wales, bro. Says Andrew and saludos. Chile as well, says Jorge. We are going to be covering their game tomorrow up against the Japanese. Should be an entertaining one. We've got Kerr, 3 a.m. in Alaska, but he is here. Morning all. Thank you very much, Kerr, for being here, mate. And thank you very much for your generosity yesterday as well. I know that the chat was going extremely quick, so it was hard to read all the messages that were being sent through. But yeah, it was hugely appreciated, the support you were showing at the start of the Rugby World Cup. Almost 1 p.m. in South Africa, says Charles. And we have got a big day ahead, ladies and gentlemen. We have got 4 games back to back to back to back, and I feel like I'm not going to have a voice by the end of it. So it will be interesting to see how the live streams go tomorrow, where we've got 3 more games that are taking place back to back to back. And Italy have will put massive pressure on New Zealand. Italy have never been in such a good position to get a win over them, says username. And that is true. I mean, we saw them push them, I believe it was at the end of 2022, the Italians were really able to try and get themselves that upset win. They've got a young side, but they've got a dangerous side. I'm looking through at that backline. Garabisi, Monty Ioane, Maurici, Juan Inacio Brix, Tommaso Allen, Capuzzo out on the wings. So I feel like it's going to be extremely entertaining to see what these young men can do up against a slightly inexperienced side in Namibia. But the only reason I say they're inexperienced is just because we haven't seen them play too many of the top sides recently. Almost 1 p.m. in South Africa, says Charles. And also we have got their super happy Blackadder will join the team. We need a Zenjin and Mongrel, says Dwayne. And there as well. And let's go Italy, says Simran. And also Hamish, I've missed you, buddy. How are you, my dude? Says Distracted Sports. I'm doing very well. I'm running off about 2 hours sleep at the moment. And now we're doing an all-nighter. And then we'll probably be running off about maybe 6 hours tomorrow night. So the World Cup is here, which means that I am jet lagged. But it's going to be absolutely entertaining looking through at all of these games, watching to see when the big upset is coming. I guess you could kind of call France versus New Zealand that little tiny bit of an upset, mainly because they came in as the underdogs, but it was only a thin split between them. AB's absolutely 100% without any doubt need to sort out their discipline. Lack of discipline has dropped them from the top of the mountain. Very true. They had 11 penalties against them in that last game up against the French, and I believe France only gave away about 5. So that tells you the difference in terms of how many extra penalties the ABs were given away. And anyone else think the versions of the anthems are played or being played are disappointing, says Finton? It depends whether or not you like a cappella. They have got a choir that is singing all of the national anthems this year by the sounds of it. With that many games, you got to look after your voice, drink lots of water. I'm just about to take the first sip as well. And Russell has said, good job, boys. Sounds good in Perth. Go the Azuri. And that was from Russell. Come on, Italy. Get me some of them sweet fantasy points, says Gareth. See, that's one thing that I suck at is predictions, as you guys know, which is why I don't really play any fantasy league. I'm already 0% for my Rugby World Cup predictions. I thought the All Blacks might narrowly sneak a win up against France. That did not happen. They lost by 14. Hi, Amy, says Amelia. Welcome in. I just put my review on Virgin River Season 5, Part 1 on my TikTok. It took me ages to film, says Amelia. The fact that you finished 10 episodes in less than 24 hours than when it came out is actually very impressive, Amelia. So I feel like that is a massive pat on the back for yourself. What is the deal with those national anthems? They have got a certain choir. I'm not sure who the choir is. I assume there's some sort of backstory behind the choir that they have chosen. But yeah, it seems to be that every national anthem is being sung by a choir this year rather than just having the song. The France-New Zealand had great viewership on your channel, says Sports Sudan. It certainly did. A huge live stream for ourselves. I think it was a record on about 3 different reasons. So yeah, it's been absolutely incredible so far for this Rugby World Cup. 2 hours sleep, you're screwed, says Tony. I hope not. I'm hoping that the energy level will take me through all of these matches. But speaking of these matches, this game between Italy and Namibia just about to get underway, ladies and gentlemen. Should be a very entertaining game. Do let me know your score predictions in the comments. As well, it was 50-50, wasn't the greatest, says Amelia K. I'm not a fan of children's choirs, very shrill and a bit yuck, says Tony. And I remember seeing Sonny Bill Williams' interview after he got a red card. The shame he felt and embarrassed for his behaviour while we were in the black jersey was humbling. Their mentality seems to be lost now, says Kerr. But they have now just kicked off. Italy kicking to the Namibians, going deep inside of Namibian territory. In fact, my apologies, both teams are wearing blue. Italy have the ball. Varney, it's actually hit the hand of the Namibian halfback. I think that was Damian Stevens who's had his hand there. Accidental offside. Penalty goes the way of the Italians within the first 20 seconds. Tony's clearly not a priest, says Gareth. We have got there. Barrett was kicking too much away, I thought, bro, says Andrew Neal. And I saw something about him getting about a 7 out of 10 for his performance in terms of people's rating system. But yeah, he just didn't seem to want to hang on to the ball. Didn't really have too many runs himself. Nicely kicked downfield from Tommaso Allen, close to the touchline, but Namibia keep it in the field of play. This is going to be the first chance for them on attack with Grayling kicking it high. The young fullback, or in fact the more experienced fullback, decides to stay back there, Rizzo, and instead it is taken by Mutin. Now Namibia in possession, looking to use their forwards about 35 metres out from the line. Damian Stevens goes back into the pocket, finds the fly halves, hands Tian Swanepoel. We've seen him in action for the Lions more recently. The URC and Curry Cup, nice skip pass there. Good hands from Namibia, and it starts to open up a little bit in the midfield. That was going to be Van Jaarsveld who did have that ball. Now stepping nicely at the back was Rizzo. 30 metres out from the line. Stevens fires it back towards the locks in the midfield. This is great phase play from Namibia. I don't think Italy were probably expecting the Namibians to put together the phases the way that they have currently, but of course we're still very early on in the game. Plenty of time remaining, and with that heat that they are playing in, certainly going to wear on the players. Nice pass to Swanepoel. Now Richard Hardwick. They've said he has had a couple tests for another nation, but now playing for his birth country. Step from Rizzo. We're up to 10 phases in a row, and now the advantage does go in favour of the Namibians. Nicely hung on to by the loose head prop, Sethi. Still playing the penalty advantage. It was for 6 offsides. It is against Sebastian Negri for the Italians. Up to 13 phases now. Stevens going back across here. Flat ball and rush defence from Fischietti, and they'll go back for the penalty. I like the Namibia putting good phases. Love to see that, or would have loved to see that this morning, says Ollie there. Yeah, we probably saw more phases just in that play from the Namibians than we saw in the whole game between New Zealand and France. And it makes you wonder, why weren't they able to do so? But this is going to be a 3-point attempted here by the Namibians. The man who has got the kicking tee for this game is Tien Swanepoel. The man who I mentioned was from the Lions, and Namibia, a very fit side, and heat won't bother them either, says Kerr. And are we saying the Italians and Namibians can't cope with the sun, says Fleshin? I think most teams are going to find it very tricky when it is about 28 degrees. Like, I know that certain teams are used to the warmer temperatures, but playing in a World Cup style of play, it just wears on you. Not just mentally, but physically as well. You know, you're in a big environment. Your nation's watching you, hoping that you will be able to get yourself the win. Namibia look good for your play, moving the ball well, says Finton. Yeah, it looks very structured at the moment for the Namibians, and they have the opportunity now to take the lead. If Tien Swanepoel from 38 metres out can get this ball over. And go Namibia, says David Barty. And the kick is successful, straight down the middle. Namibia take the lead 3-0. That is something that some people may not have predicted for this game. They would have expected Italy to start fast. Looks like quite a few Namibians in attendance as well, which is absolutely awesome to see. And rooting that the heat will wear down the Italians. Remember that Namibia is basically a desert with a coastline. Namibian used to the heat, says Stan there. So yeah, I guess Namibia, they probably have the advantage in terms of the temperature, but then Italy probably have the advantage in terms of the opposition that they have played over the last little while. Cracking start, let's go, says Distracted Sports. It's kicked up high and deep into the Namibian 22. This is where we get to see maybe a little bit more of the forwards running it forward. Richard Hardwick managing to break through one tackle, at least sneaking up a little bit quick. They might almost get done for offside here if they're not too careful. Namibia, nice run from Luddick. Now Stevens back into the pocket. It's kicked high. Swanepoel, awkward, swirling one. The young number 14 not able to get it this time with Mutan, and instead Italy now with the ball in hand. Stephen Varney goes across to the right-hand side. It looked like Tommaso Allen was actually the man who played first receiver. Here comes Monty Ioane, huge amount of space. He steps around the fullback, got a bit selfish though. Rather than passing early with the draw and pass, he bet his defender, slipped, and then ended up losing the ball. Namibia back with the possession, kick downfield from the experienced fullback Rizzo. Now down towards the 22, Italy. Back in position, looking to sling this one away to the left-hand side. Looks like Monty Ioane once again wants to back himself, but he's tackled by the Namibian captain, Diesel. Now a big run from Sebastian Negri. And cracking start, let's go, says Distracted Sports. The humidity a big factor than the actual temperature, I reckon, says Gareth. Yeah, we saw it during the All Blacks haka that they were sweating bricks, which is not really what you want before a game. You want to be nice and cool, but how can you be cool when you're just dealing with that humidity? You feel like your body, I don't even know how to describe humidity. It's just like you're kind of you're not drowning, but you just feel like you're damp. Does that make sense? Probably not. But it's kicked towards the corner there by the Italians. They will be 15 metres out now from Namibia's line. We are 6 minutes into this contest, flying by at the moment for the first of 4 games that we are going to be commentating in a row. Kieran Crowley already wiping the sweat from his brow. Nervous early on in this game, and Rebels boys playing. Says Amelia K. Yeah, Richard Hardwick in action for the Namibians. Nicely taken by Rusa. Now Italy decide against using that rolling maul, instead going to crash themselves forward in the midfield. I believe it would have been Mauricio who had that run. Big run from Sebastian Negri now. 10 metres out from the line, Namibia. We're getting to see their defence tested for the first time throughout this World Cup, and they just had a car running at them in the form of Ferrari. Now, Garabisi, quick hands. Still 15 metres out. Good face play from both sides, though, throughout the initial 7 minutes of this game. Rush defence there not working out. Fischetti making a couple extra metres. Now Varney asking for the penalty advantage, and he does receive it. Referee awards it. And now Italy have a decision to make. Do they go for the easy 3 here and get it back to square, or do they chase a bonus point? In this case, going for the corner, trying to put that pressure on Namibia. Some deep rest being taken. That time it was Danko Berger who was penalised. But Fischetti, just good stepping ability from a big prop. Makes you nervous when you are defending up against them. Humidity will be the killer. 7 p.m. here, 29 degrees Celsius, 93% humidity, says Dwayne. And Italy, they do decide what some would consider the smart option. They've gone for the 3 points rather than the 7, and wonder when we're going to see some orange chalk throws making an appearance, says Gareth. Yeah, we didn't see any in the opening game. I wonder whether or not that is due to the security, or whether or not that is some sort of maybe thing that they've said, how you'll get a massive fine or something along those lines. Now lining up this first kick of the game for the Italians. And it has gone over. Nice kick from Stephen Varney is the man who is in charge of the kicking tee for Italy. And now it goes back to 3-3. And all he has said, go for the bonus point. And Italy could walk into the All Blacks game with 10 points on the table. True, if they go aggressive here. But I think taking the 3, in some regards, that's just showing respect for Namibia. They've realised they're in for a challenge here. Some people felt that this game could be quite one-sided, but I think Namibia, as long as they can keep that pressure on the Italians, not allow easy line breaks, that is where they could find themselves a bit of success. That is a massive drop kick from Namibia, only going 2 metres out from the Italian line. Varney returns fire with a kick of his own. And now Namibia in possession. It is going to be Rizzo again. They have a lot of possession, I would say, throughout this game. Also going to have quite a bit of kicking responsibilities. Not off the kicking tee per se, but just managing to get a bit more territory. And Japan World Cup was just as hot, says Brick. And there you've had a name change, Kawasi. Well, welcome back, mate. It is going to be an Italian advantage now. Looking for the kick in behind, trying to get that 50-22. The ball curls, and it will be now a 50-22 to the Italians. Or is it? The referee's trying to decide here which way it ended up going. I believe it was just inside. Okay, Paul Williams, he has awarded the line out to Namibia, so it must have been maybe one step over. Oh, we have got there, what was your biggest tip during the ABs versus France stream? Says Distracted Sports. We did get a donation of £50 from Kerr, with, of course, the hippo transformer emoji. And then he decided to do it again like 5 minutes later. So the man is in a very generous mood throughout the early stages of the World Cup, that is for sure. Nicotera now with the line-out throw for the Italians. Nicely taken at the front by Federico Ruza. We have got Brick Johnson giving us a £99 super sticker as well. Thank you very much, mate. Hugely appreciated. Nice rolling maul here for Italy. It's gone down, but 5 metres out. The advantage has now been called in favour of the Italians. 1 metre from the line, using their big forwards, which we know that they've got a formidable pack. They're going back for the advantage. There might have been, I tell you what, it's going to be unlucky for Namibia. Number 2. In this case, it is Torsten van Zjarfveld going off the field now for 10 minutes. That is the last thing that Namibia wanted early on in this match. Patricia Black has said, are you of great energy commentating on another match? Good luck to both teams, says Patricia. There is, I don't love the pronunciation on the R's, says Simran. And there as well, hey, Namibia won 20 points to 19 over Italy. Tell you what, if it went down to the wire like that, it would be an absolutely outstanding game. I feel like this is a little bit of a dark horse game of the first round in the Rugby World Cup. And now that Italy have got themselves a man advantage, seems like it's only a matter of time. They have broken through, scored the try. First try of the Rugby World Cup is going to be scored by Lorenzo Cannoni. I'll bring back to Kawasi, or I'll be back to Kawasi soon, says Brick Johnson. It wasn't that Alan who got that kick, says Fleshin. I thought it, oh no, it might have been actually. Him and Stephen Varney, they almost look like they're brothers. In fact, I think on my spreadsheet, I might actually have the same picture of both of them. I thought that Tommaso Allen, his head's a bit more square, isn't it? But it could have been in that case. And hi, Namibia. Oh, no, I read that one. And also, Namibia, don't be shaken at all. Let's win this one, says Shanti. And unfortunately, just having that man disadvantage has hurt them there when it came to that rolling maul attempt of the Italians. But Namibia, if they only can see one try throughout this time of having a yellow card, they still have plenty of chance in this game. It's just whether or not they can keep the score close enough that the Italians aren't able to run away with the contest. That is the big task ahead of them. I'm going to see the kicking once again. Italy by 20, says Eben Oliver. Probably a decent prediction overall. Yes, it is. In fact, Tommaso Allen, my apologies there. But that kick has gone over. Very decent kick from the touchline. And that is going to make the score now 10 points to 3 in favour of Italy. We talked about the discipline of the All Blacks, discipline of Namibia, very important over the next 10 minutes, or else they could end up with only 13 men on the field, which is the last thing that they will want. Now sitting 12 minutes into this game, I should mention about 13 men on the field. The Warriors also being defeated. So far for New Zealand competition, the All Blacks have lost. The Warriors have lost. Israel Adesanya, he has got himself a fight up against Sean Strickland today, or tomorrow in fact, for UFC 293. And at the moment, the Kiwis aren't doing too well for the weekend. A couple other Kiwis also on that card. I believe we're going to get to see Shane someone. I can't remember his last name now. It's really bad for me. Justin Tuff, a few Aussies on the card alongside Tai Tuivasa. That is now going to be kicked off now by the Italians. We have got another donation that is from Distracted Sports. He has said, if your life depended on it, who would you back for the win between North Harbour and Namibia? Ooh. Full strength North Harbour or current North Harbour team, Tony? Tell you what, it'd be a decent game. I would probably back your boys from North Harbour because they have got the likes of a Sean Stevenson who can create some magic. Speaking of magic, down the wing, the big Italian lock starting to charge forward. In fact, he is just about being pushed into touch. A weak kicking attempt from Tommaso Allen gives the position back to Namibian. Shane Young, that's the last name. Here's a pronunciation challenge. Town in Namibia called Ochiwarongo, is it? I feel like that might be wrong though. Ochiwarongo, is that how you'd say it? Or not quite? North Harbour, says Gareth Ferguson. Going to be kicked high. Awkward bouncing ball. Does go into touch, and now Italy have got themselves the line out. As much as he tries to deny it, Varney is a sheep reject and is not in Allen's class. Says Flesh, in a long time since I made it here, mate. How you doing? Says Danston. Doing very well, mate. You are doing well also. The World Cup is well and truly in the swing of things. We've got a lot of commentary coming up in the near future. Too many bad records now. Says Chuck the Woke, and yep, perfect pronunciation, says Gary Smith. I think I got very lucky in that case. Nicely taken there by, it was once again Rosa, Italy. Having a lot of possession since that yellow card came. Montigiani finding the offload away to Juan Inacio Brex, now kicked him behind for the Italians. And will just curve into touch, though they would have loved to have that one just a little bit further in the field of play. Like they're talking about Italy showing early intent. Tian Swanepoel actually looks a little bit like Max Malins from certain angles. I was looking at him before going, hang on, he's supposed to be playing for England. Very close pronunciation, says Johan, and you almost aced it. Well done, Hamish, says Stan Paulson there. And also why turn up at Rugby World Cup with the players that are under an injury cloud, says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi. It's a great question. It depends a little bit on the player. Like Brodie Retallick was not supposed to be back as soon as he was, and now like, it's good to see that he didn't get re-injured. Big run forward from the Italians breaking through. Paolo Garbisi puts his finger in the air like he just doesn't care, and he scores the first try of a back in this Italian Rugby World Cup. Namibia will win this game, guys. Says Danson and try, says Power Bite 92, but it is the youngster Paolo Garbisi who crosses the try line for the Italians. That yellow card starting to become more and more costly for Namibia here, but it was a big line-out throw from Namibia, went over the top, which did leave the gap for the Italians to run on to where Garbisi breaks through the tackle attempt. Tell you what, the tongue roll was going absolutely nuts on that little segment of play, wasn't it? Got Italy by 33, says Gareth. Nice, says Ollie, and go Italy, says Charlene in there. Those Italians look jacked up. Big lad, says Flesh. And yeah, their four-pack is huge. And to be honest, that is something that the All Blacks may have to look at and go, right, we cannot get out physicality by the Italians in that game because they have got that little bit of X factor in their backline. And I think the way that the All Blacks are currently playing, if they do end up giving away a lot of penalties in that Italian game, it could be a relatively close one. A great run from Garbisi, breaking through the tackle attempt of Tian Swanepoel, walking the park for the Italians, says Brian there. And also crikey score coming, says Kalmak and there as well. But Namibia, they are chasing their first ever Rugby World Cup win. And the thing is, they have still got a few more games left of their pool to be able to do so. I believe their best chance is going to be in the game between Namibia and Uruguay, because just a little bit ago, we actually saw the Namibians beat Uruguay in a Rugby World Cup warm-up game. They are back to 15 men on the field now, but the damage may have already been done with the fact they did have one less man out there for 10 minutes. Bok winning the World Cup without a loss, says AJS. And do you remember when the Italians beat the Boks? It's a little while ago, wasn't it? I think that was almost just before I started watching rugby full-time again, which sounds weird to say full-time, but also, I was only watching the occasional game rather than every single one. I'm sorry, everybody, but I cannot abide Joel Stansky, the commentator. Says Powerbite 92, All Blacks might struggle with the Italian set piece, says Gareth. It's nice they kicked him behind there from Italy again. Deep inside of his own territory now, Tien Swanepoel will have to kick this ball back downfield. Does get a decent enough angle on it. Bouncing awkwardly for the Italians, just going into the shade 10 metres out from their own try line. Tell you what, they'll want to play a lot of the game from in there, I would think. A nice little bit of shade rather than the cooking sun. And so I guess South Africa playing New Zealand quarterfinals, says SBM. It does look that way, unless, of course, there's an upset and Ireland are able to beat South Africa. Then it could be Ireland versus New Zealand, France taking on South Africa. So either way, there's going to be two big matchups taking place of the quarterfinals. We could see Northern Hemisphere versus Northern Hemisphere in one, Southern boys versus Southern in the other. But we are still a few weeks away. At this point, they are just showing that Yarsfield did get himself yellow carded, so he was taken off the field. And in fact, I think they're still playing that yellow card. I thought he was back out on the field. They made a different substitution there for the Namibians. Nice run forward from Adrian Luddick. Now back across to the left-hand side. Namibia getting a little bit more of the ball in their hands. They've just dropped it, unfortunately. That will be the knock-on on the ground, and now we get to see these two scrums go head-to-head. Those dark Alistair Coetzee days, says Gareth. And also we have got the Bok lost to Italy because of Jake White. And it looks like Ireland versus New Zealand and France versus Scotland in the quarters, says Brian there. And also Italy will give a good amount or good account of themselves. Still can't see them get out of the group, says Cal Mack. Yeah, they're in a tricky boat, Italy, because they have been playing some very good rugby over the last 12 months or so. The slightly unfortunate part of it is the fact that they are in a group with two sides in the top four around the world. If this World Cup was drawn maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, it could have looked completely different. We have got Italy won't get out of their group. They have Fleshin, says Charles, and spent memorable times in the Okavango River and in the Rundu area as well. I did a lot of sweating in Ushirikari. Hopefully I've said that correctly. I do apologise if I am saying them slightly wrong. Truly awesome country with my friendly population. A great travel destination now, says Gary Smith. We're going to be drinking a lot of water throughout these 4 live streams back to back, ladies and gentlemen. So I do recommend anyone who is watching, get yourself a nice beverage, a nice cold glass of H2O, maybe a pack of chips or an apple. Enjoy the Rugby World Cup while we have got it. Still 50 more games after this one taking place. Loose ball there for Italy, and the ball bounces up for Namibia, who now have themselves a counter-attacking opportunity. Offload from the skipper. Goes into the hands now with the Young's number 10, Tien Swanepoel. And it's going back for the original knock-on from the Italians, but still an opportunity now to see Namibia's set piece. Hi, says Zach the Terminator. Welcome in, mate. Hope you are doing extremely well. Jason Island nearly lost to Samoa, says AJS. Yeah, well, it could be interesting if Fiji get out of their group and the ABs don't, says Fleshin. If water, bring me wine, says Calmac. Yeah, some people might opt for the more alcoholic version. Watch the rugby with an apple combination. It's the only thing I could think of in the kitchen. To be fair though, an apple, if you're watching the rugby with anyone else and you're just sitting there with your apple in hand going, like everyone's going to get really annoyed at you. But then saying that, chips are noisy too, aren't they? So, yeah, I don't think anyone's going to grab an apple now after my recommendation, are they? I'm on an espresso martini, no water, during a World Cup game, says Fleshin. And also they might see an indication of the reality today. Hamish, we're South African, we do beer and biltong, says Stan. Yeah, there'll be a few braais firing up for tomorrow, that is for sure. Getting the bottle words, which I do not pronounce correctly, so I do apologise for that. But getting them fired up on the braai. Now Namibia. First receiver runs forward. Nice low tackle made by Stephen Varney flat pass, big shots coming in from the Italians forwards. That will be something that they pride themselves on throughout this World Cup, is bringing that physicality around the side of the breakdown. It is Rebels representative Richard Hardwick. There's a lot of R's taking place in that sentence. Now back across, Stevens, skip pass, Namibia looking at the corner, and they will get it, or do they? They may have to just check this one to make sure it's all right. It is awarded, and Namibia score themselves a Rugby World Cup try. It is Gershwin Mouton who does get it. It left an acre of space out there on the wing, and they made the absolute most of it. Namibia getting back into the contest with a man disadvantage as well. We have got their chips. Are they crisp because I'm English? Says Zach, they are indeed. But the try scored by Gershwin Mouton. Namibia, the gap opened up out wide. Italy weren't expecting them to go out there, and then just manages to reach out, get it down in the corner before Monty Ioane was able to get across and cut him off. Brilliant bit of work from the young finisher out on the right wing. And AJS, I'm not saying it will be easy, but come on. It is by far an upset, says Jason, and stands that warm beer and desiccated meat. Also, does Namibia have a red card? They do not. Only a yellow card. And lovely try, Namibia, says Kurnovic, and try, says Sebastian. And I'm sure you are excited, Sebastian, for the game just around the corner, although you probably won't be excited once you hear some of the pronunciations of those Romanian names that I come up with. They're going to be a bit rough, I will say. The good news about Namibian names is they're a little bit similar with the South African pronunciation, so I don't think we're done terribly yet. But the Romanian names, I was looking through at some of them and I was like, what other team have the names similar to this? And I couldn't really work it out. Probably Tonga. I saw quite a few names that seemed a little bit Tongan in there. And also Namibia, says Stan, and Namibia, South Africa's reserve team, says Chronic Underachiever. And also 17 points to 8, says Charles. Yeah, the scoreboard's gone to sleep. There we go. It has now updated itself. It is currently 11:30 p.m. at night time, so it thinks that it might be a good time for sleeping, but not us. We have got 4 live streams back to back to back, this being the first, and tell you what, the elation on the face of the Namibian side when they were able to cross the try line, it would have given them just that little bit more hope. Italy now taking a drinks break 22 minutes into the game. That's a try, says Calamak, and Italy can win, says Stabil. And I believe that Namibia is most probably the country with the least number of professional players ever qualifying for the World Cup ever, says Gary Smith. Yeah, it's got to be right down there in terms of the amount of Namibians that they had to pick from the player pool. And yeah, about 4 or 5 of our backs from the Pacific. Not exactly traditional, but the lads count, says Sebastian there. We have got there, well done Namibia, says Brian. And Namibia, congratulations. Are you in New Zealand or something? I am indeed. So down in the Southern Hemisphere, we are going to be going right through to 9 a.m. New Zealand time tonight. Or this morning, that is going to be the game between England and Argentina. And what a way to close out the day as well. There are also more games taking place tomorrow. Chile versus Japan is one that comes to mind. Also alongside that, there is going to be the matchup between South Africa and Scotland. And then closing out the weekend and round number 1 of the fixtures with Wales versus Fiji. That is a 7 a.m. kickoff for us here in New Zealand. I mentioned about it. I'm going to give myself jet lag from all these live streams. It's going to be very worth it with the amount of action we're going to see. But kicked off now by Italy. That would have been a little bit of a wake-up call for them not to leave space on the outside, or else Namibia may be able to make the most of it and go not Vietnam, says Franz Smith there. And Irish both 30k subscribers, few shorts for this figure. I hope this Rugby World Cup, this will be crossing the 30k subscribers, says Vishal. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible the amount of support that we've had on this Rugby World Cup. It's going to be exciting. See where we are at by the end of it. But also, I just hope that we have a lot of great games of rugby. The beauty of the World Cup is we're going to have people from all around the world in the chat, coming in, having a chat. I wonder why Kenya, who are traditionally good at sevens, don't have a union team, says Brick. They do, but unfortunately they did end up getting knocked out in the repechage. They were beaten by, I think it was USA and Portugal, so that cost them their chance of going through. I hope the weather cools down for the teams over the next week or two, says Brian. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be about Monday. It's supposed to cool just that little bit more. Now, it is going to be a rolling maul for Italy. Fischetti at the back. Man who was able to score the first try. Or sorry, not Fischetti. It is actually Nicotera. And it also wasn't Fischetti who scored the first try. It was actually Kanoni. And now the rolling maul still marching forward. Namibia defending it relatively well now, though. Being able to stop that momentum. Stephen Varney decides that he has to use it, goes off to the left-hand side. Nice step coming in. Low tackle attempt. I think he used his face to make that tackle there, Conradi. Now kicked him behind, looking for the 50-22, or at least looking for territory, and it has gone into touch. Can't wait for the Wales versus Fiji game. Says Caleb, yeah, it's going to be an absolutely awesome one. There are quite a few big games taking part over this weekend. And then next weekend, I don't know whether or not everyone knows about the fixtures that are taking place there, but there are also quite a few big ones. These are the games to look forward to for next week. I think the biggest of the bunch would have to be Australia versus Fiji. I think that is also an intriguing one, depending on how that Wales versus Fiji match does go near the end of the round. But so far, 202 metres made by the Italians compared to the 169 made by Namibia. It's going to be nicely taken by Yanevi. Now Namibia in possession, 15 metres out from their own try line, back into the pocket. They look to get some decent distance on this one, and it isn't too bad of a kick. Gets them to about 38 metres out there for the youngster, Tian Swanepoel. Is it Sunday in New Zealand? Not quite. 30 minutes time, though. We will be on Sunday morning. And hey, mate, hey, chat, big night ahead, eh, says D-Funk. Absolutely. I'm hoping that my voice lasts throughout the whole 4 live streams and the 3 coming up tomorrow. But yeah, there's just going to be some awesome rugby action. I can't wait to see, I guess, the little battles that we see between teams throughout this Rugby World Cup. There was a very flat pass from Italy, but it's worked out, and now the offload goes up. Risky offload from the Maro, but it has worked out now, going into the hands of the try scorer in the end, Kanoni, but he does put it down. Now Namibia with the counter-attacking opportunity. They have got numbers on this left-hand side. Linking up nicely was the skipper. Now good spin. Namibia putting them under pressure when they have got the ball in hand, which is absolutely awesome to see. Because it makes me think that their game up against Uruguay, you know, they might get themselves a bonus point if they play like this. Big kick in behind. Ioane has to get back to cover. The ball has just stayed in the field of play rather than rolling into touch for the 50-22. And now Ioane gives it across to Tommaso Allen. Massive boot downfield towards the sun. Swanepoel completely lost it, but luckily for him, the ball hit him. And then it did bounce up, and now he's kicked it back up into the sky. Swanepoel will see some massive white lights in his eyes. Just managing to stay in the field of play for the Garbisi. That was almost a turnover. In fact, it's the penalty to Namibia. And Japan look poor, to be honest, says Calmac. It will be interesting to see how they go in their game up against Chile, because we will actually, for that live stream, be wearing a Chile kit. And the reason for that is a man, he flew all the way from Chile to deliver us their Rugby World Cup kit. The slight downside is it's a small, and I'd squeeze into a medium for rugby kits, but squeezing into a small, I've been I would say, relatively disciplined in the diet. I've had a few ice creams over the last few weeks just to enjoy myself a bit, but overall I've been pretty disciplined to try and squeeze down enough to be able to get into that Chile kit so that my arms don't fall off. Japan do look poor, but England look homeless, says Kerr. And there's, oh yeah, it's going to be interesting when those two sides go head to head, isn't it? And in fact, I don't know who will win that one. And Chile new kit is the best, says Power Bite. Nicely taken there at the front by Yanevi. Now 25 metres out from the line. Namibia going to the left-hand side, using those forwards, and they aren't afraid of contact, which is why they are getting a few extra metres every time they hit this ball up. Backline looking crisp again, but it's just put down by the captain there and number 13, Diesel. They will go back, though, for the original scrum. And Food says Krampus. And also Chile is next to Brazil and Argentina, very skinny country, says Chronic there. Is that why I had a small rather than a medium, perhaps, for it? But yeah, it should fit, hopefully. Maybe. I'm just trying to think of the last time I tried to put it on. I think it was about a year ago, and there was no chance that one was fitting me. And England are reduced to sucking off dogs for a pack of chips. But who's going to pay them, Powerball? I don't think the dogs are getting their money out of their pockets in that case. We will move briskly along. 28 minutes through this game. Stephen Varney now with the line out, the scrum feed for the Italians, 25 metres out from the line. Namibia's scrum has held up relatively well, although I did just jinx it. They've given away the penalty advantage. Now back across. Nice inside ball to Monty Ioane, and they will go back for the original penalty. And we have got there. Hamish, I hope you've got February 7th in your diary, says Kerr. I didn't, but now I do. Is that when you are on the New Zealand shores, Kerr? That might actually be in the patch of not a lot of stuff on as well, which I guess is a good and a bad thing, depending on what you want to get up to when you are in Kiwi land. 7th of February. I'm just going to mark it now because or else I will forget. There we go. I've added it to the calendar. And also hard to know if Chile is hot or cold, says Kelmac. Are we talking temperature or are we just talking like their rugby form at the moment? Because they've had a couple not too bad games. Their game up against the Argentina XV makes me curious about what they can do. Same actually with Namibia. I believe that they played the Argentina XV, only lost by about 5 points. It seems like Vian Conradi is currently a bit injured. Took a bit of a knock on the head. Looks like he will be all right to continue this match. Am I the only guy who calls rugby football? Says Chronic. I feel like it's a little bit old school in a way. I think there's a few of the more, I guess, experienced rugby viewers do decide to call it rugby. Or sorry, not rugby, football in there as well, but a footy. I think that's where it comes from, saying footy. Because I don't think I've heard anyone called football footy that I can think of. I'm trying to think of a man with an English accent going, hey, oh, you want to go play some footy? But then he probably wouldn't say that. So, yeah, that might be where it comes from. Dunedin on the 6th, says Kerr. I actually know someone in Dunedin. So perhaps if they are down there as well, I had to try and get the boys on a trip down south. And are you bringing your cruise ship, Kerr, or is it just yourself on? I'd assume you'd have a cruise ship with you if you're going all the way to Dunedin. And sorry, Hamish, there's a tabloid story in the UK about rags to riches. Lotto, I won the lotto for Quavers, says Powerboy. We always call it footy, says Krampus. Now line out throw for Nicotera, 10 metres out from the line. This is where Italy were able to use their rolling ball quite nicely. The last time they were down this part of the field, it is nicely taken at the front by Ruza. And now they are starting to get a little bit closer to the try line, but it has been shut down pretty quickly by Namibia, doing relatively decently. Yeah, on a ship, says Kurt. And there, but yeah, we'll have to head down south, I'd say. I didn't actually check what day that is. Is that a Saturday or is it a midday or midweek day for the 7th? Now, Negri looked like he almost knocked that ball on, but Varney, yep, they did go back for the knock-on. And Italy, once again, they've been inside of the 22 in Namibia, but they haven't been able to get over the try line. Yeah, they do say footy up here for football, says Fleshin. And OMG, I love to need him for the student vibes, says Simran Sadler. Do students start almost be back by the 7th of Feb, wouldn't they? Or when do they start heading back? I think it's early February, late January. Oh, no, that's primary school and high school. Of course, speaking from when I was back at those two locations, I thought ABs looked a bit too small versus France's big men. Anyone else notice that, says Martin Smith? Yeah, they just seem to be getting out physicality or out muscled. That's the better way of using it than just making up words myself. But yeah, out muscled by the French forward pack. And midweek Friday in Wellington and Saturday Tauranga, says Kerr. And there as well. Okay, so you're going to do a nice little New Zealand tour. It will actually be relatively warm as well, end of February, start of March for Otago, says Simran. Oh, so Dunedin will be really quiet in that case. Be like 3 people down south. I'm trying to think of how many times I've been to Forsyth Bar. I think I've only been about 3 times or twice, maybe. This Rugby World Cup in France, certainly atmosphere at the ground. Another scrum reset, 8 minutes remaining in this first half, and currently only a 9-point difference between these two teams. We have got there in the chat as well, not to mention they have better biltong, says Sebastian, and that's why it's called a kicky game, says Gareth. Now ball being fed in by Damian Stevens, or not. Once again, another scrum reset. If you need to give yourself more space, do so, says Andrew Brace to the front row. Our last cruise before crossing to Hawaii, says Kerr there. So yeah, we may not be able to follow you to the Hawaii one, I would say, but somewhere around New Zealand could be quite cool to have a bit of a meet-up. You like golf? We've got a few driving ranges around the place, or mini golf. Mini golf's quite fun. It's like golf, but smaller. Now Stevens feeds the ball in. That's gone down again in the front rows, but the referee says play on. Nicely kicked downfield from Namibia. Tien Swanepoel getting a big hoof on that one, but only getting it to maybe about 25 metres out from the the Namibian line. There will be some students around for summer school during January and February, but not enough, so yeah, it's a bit of a ghost town, says Simran in there as well. We have got what beer do you take, Hamish? At this stage, I'm on the waters. We got about, the thing is, I could easily consume 6 litres today, which is too many. You shouldn't consume 6, but I think we're going to get through 1.5 in this live stream and probably about 1.5 in each of the others as well. Cur package, ETA, February 7th. Yeah, literal cur package. Yourself with a bow on you will be showing up at the door. That was a good offload. I couldn't say anything because I don't know how to talk underwater, but it's going to be put downfield. Monty Ioane, 5 metres out from the line now. Has the kick. That's gone off the side of the boot. And now 25 metres out from the line, Namibia have got themselves a line out. Now, Kerr, we need some context on that statement of you may finally get to taste those balls. He is, of course, talking about it's like a hard candy ball. And it was a rugby commentator who, I guess, was involved in making them. But, yeah. It's about what that scenario entails. We have got their Namibian game. Biltong is pretty nice, says Gareth. Now Namibia retaining their own line out. Big run forward from the skipper, Johan Diesel. Now going to the left-hand side. Starting to get this that little bit closer to the try line. Now if Namibia can score here, they will be in a perfect position of being right back in this contest by the time we get to half-time. A little bit of a step coming in there from the big number 8 again. Around the side of the breakdown. Ankles taken out from underneath him. I believe it was Retief with a carry. We haven't seen a huge amount of him throughout this first half. Been joining a few of the breakdowns though. Now going to the left-hand side. The young try scorer Mutin. Not sure which way to go. Up to 8 phases again for the Namibians. Inside ball looked like it was on, but instead taking contact there was Conradi to the left. If they go to the left, I think they're in a really good position here, the Namibians, but they just need to shift it past the first 2 receivers. Here we go. Going to the left-hand side, trying to find the gap. Wide cut-out pass over the top. Oh, it's put down on the wing. I got all excited because I almost called the play, but the knock-on there from the Namibians does now cause Italy to have themselves the scrum feed. We have good there. Ireland won't run up a big score in this heat. Says use all and go Namibia. Namibia used to heat. Comeback coming. Says Albert there. And also we have got there, taste those balls, says Gareth. Just sun in the eyes, but he would have loved to be able to take it out on the wing there. Dunko Berger hiding his face after putting that one down. We have got their Waikol, a game that uses their hands football. It makes no sense, says Krampus. They still kick it though. You know, so it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think it's an old school thing calling rugby football. Like saying, oh, we'll play a bit of footy. And go Namibia. Are they giving a good account of themselves here, says Calmac? Yeah, throughout this first half, they have looked a lot stronger than I think a lot of people thought that they would, which is absolutely awesome for the Namibians that they've been able to show up. Italy, they'll be relatively happy with this first half at times, but there's still a lot that they can work on as they head into the second 40 minutes and also head throughout the rest of their Rugby World Cup. Now we have got another scrum. That's where there's been a little bit of shakiness now for Namibia over the last little while. And also we have got their shame All Blacks, says Albert. And also, sorry, but the All Blacks will probably be out in the quarterfinal or semi-final at best, says Martin Smith. Looks like they are making a change now. It is Bernardi making his way onto the field, and that is replacing Des Sethi in the front row. So perhaps that is something that they have seen, that the scrum is struggling a little bit more, bringing the man off the bench that they feel may be able to bring back that stability just a bit more. Just got to remember to only suck those balls. Biting them is painful, says Kerr. Of course, talking about the candy again in that case. Ball being fed in by Stephen Varney. Now looking to shift this one To the left, I would say Italy if it does come out. But first of all, the penalty advantage does go in favour of the Italians. Looking to shift it. Nope. Has bounced out of the hands of the youngster Capuzzo. We've hardly seen him throughout the first half. We have got there, I love the consistency of live commentary on the games happening around this time, considering the differentials in time zones. Will you do the live commentary throughout the Selected games only, says Pistis. Hopefully I've said that correctly. The plan is to do every single game of the Rugby World Cup. Now, there will be the occasional game that may be, depending on how much sleep we've got in the 24 hours beforehand, we may struggle to be able to do. But I'm going to make sure that if those are any games that we end up missing, they are only games up against the smaller sides. But the plan is to do all 52 matches of the Rugby World Cup. And hopefully we'll be able to do that. It is just going to be myself, a one-man band, throughout this whole live stream, throughout this whole Rugby World Cup. I'm hoping to have a couple guests along the way, maybe for a game or two, but it's going to be a lot of talking. You guys are going to be so sick of my voice by the end of it. And Australia versus Georgia looks like a tasty match, says Calmac, and that is the game that has taken place just after Ireland versus Romania. Nice offload, Capuzzo now getting involved in the play. They have got numbers on the left-hand side here. Italy moving to 25 metres out from the try line. Now, nice run forward. I believe that was going to be Morisi, the inside centre. Italy starting to get some good go forward here, going to the left. Varney slings it off. Interception for the Namibians, but they have not been able to create that break. Instead, just taking it to ground. Now on the short side, no space whatsoever for Conradi to be able to make those metres that he's after. We've got there, I think we will be playing South Africa in the quarterfinal. That will suit us. And so you're saying you may not cover England versus Japan. The smaller sides can be missed, I mean. Says Kieran there as well. Yeah, well, that's the thing. England are in a really weird position, aren't they? Because they should be heavy favourites to make it through. I'm very curious to see how they go up against the Argentines because, yeah, it's going to be one of those games that are the closest out of any for the betting odds. I think in England we're $1.92 favourites, $1.95 underdogs for Argentina. So like the smallest, barest of margin, 3 cents. The difference between those two teams. I could never be sick of your voice. You're my favourite sports commentator. Says Simran, thank you very much. Hugely appreciated. Your voice is audible chocolate, mate. Looking forward to your commentary, says FM. Now I just want chocolate. I had a Magnum earlier on. I don't know whether you guys know what a Magnum is, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. Pretty much it's ice cream with chocolate coating it. And it was fantastic. That was after being up for quite some time. And after we finished the All Blacks France one, we also did a preview of South Africa, Scotland. I was like, I want an ice cream. So I got one. I feel like I know the answer before I ask, but have you seen The Shawshank Redemption? I have not, no. To be fair, you could have listed maybe 90% of movies and it probably still would have been a no, but my dad has. He's watched quite a bit of, I was going to say movies, but I think a lot of people have, haven't they? Your live game commentary is outstanding. I think the Rugby Guru comes closer to you, says Alfie, and we have actually got a collaboration with him planned in the near future. That's going to miss, unfortunately, for Namibia, away to the right-hand side when they did have the opportunity to add the 3 points. So we've got 18 seconds remaining, but Tian Swanepoel missing his first kick of the day. He was able to get his last one over. In fact, no, he's missed another one since then. My apologies. He's actually missed 2 out of the 3. I think Italy will run away with this game in the second half, says Pistis. And also, we have got the ever seen the Queen, or ever since the Queen died, England has been in disarray, says Chronic. And audible chocolate, says Brick Johnson. Yeah, it's the first time I have had my voice compared to chocolate. It's a new one, that is for sure. It's kicked high. Italy taking it nicely inside of their 22, calling the mark. They will take the tap, kick the ball into touch in a half-time. In this match, 17 points to 8 in favour of the Italians. But I have to say, a very decent performance from Namibia here to be able to keep it as close as they currently have. Come on, Namibia, let's see a good contest. Long kick, says Brian. And the kicker has squint, says Calmac, and a Hollywood movie suck, says Marvin in there. And also we've got the Andy Dufresne is England. The rest of their pool is the sisters, says Magnum and Pineapple on Pizza. In Queenstown, summer is epic. Wait. Did I read that? So you have like chocolate ice cream chunks type thing, and then you put pineapple on it as well. on a pizza, is the base like sweet or is it actually also savoury? Your dad has you say, that makes you a young one, mate. About 27, I presume, says Stan. So a little bit younger. I'm 23. But I am getting closer to 24. But I won't quite be 24 by the end of this Rugby World Cup. It's a prison movie. That may give you an idea of what I'm suggesting, Hamish, says Kerr. I think the only prison movie I've seen is The Longest Yard. Maybe. What other movies are set in a prison? I can't think of any. I was about to say that one where they play football, but that is The Longest Yard. Cabozo is losing me points on fantasy. Says Philippines, yeah, we've hardly seen him throughout this half, unfortunately, so he will certainly want to be more involved in that second 40 minutes. Good afternoon, Hamish. Missing your chat and enjoying watching the Rugby on Stars play. Says Joss Pike, that is a new one that I haven't heard of. Hopefully it is all free to air and it is all good, running smoothly for you. And also we have got there, you can't put ice cream on a pizza, it will be soggy, says Crumpus. Although some would say the same thing about pineapple because of the water that it has. Cheese, if you put too much cheese, it could probably become soggy as well, couldn't it? Depending on how much cheese you have. Humidity has gone pretty quiet, says Russell. Shawshank Redemption set in a prison. The longest yard was 1.17 metres long. Says Martin, I regularly refer to my work as a Shawshank Redemption wit, says Kerr. Pineapple pizza is soggy, says Crumpus. And also, mate, me and my boys have crazy food combinations, high school concussions. Might be to blame, says Chronic Underachiever. I think the craziest combination that I have done, it wasn't actually a food, but it was a drink. Me and George, we filmed a video a while ago on the Kiwi Lads Entertainment channel where we soda streamed random items. And we ended up soda streaming like fizzifying milk. It was nice. It was like fizzy cheese and it just tasted really bad. But then chocolate milk with a little bit of fizz in it. Believe it or not bad. Like, yes, I wouldn't order it, but I also wouldn't be opposed to it if someone was like, hey, have some fizzy chocolate milk. Blood and Blood out is a great family prison movie, says Philippines, and only my work has more tunnelling through and no redemption, says Kerr. Namibia's rugby union is very, very small with a tiny budget, says Albert, and I think that just makes it even more impressive with what they've been able to do here in this first half, only being the 9 points behind. If they had managed to get a couple more kicks over, they would actually be sitting only about 3 points behind or somewhere around there as well. I had to pay 25 Real for a year's subscription, worth it for the year to watch rugby, cricket and the Ryder Cup golf, says Joss Pike, and deep fried pizza and batter, says Calmick. Pineapple on pizza is great and pineapple on pizza is awesome. Hello, it's a Hawaiian pizza, says Martin there. And Home Alone, best prison movie ever. Tell you what, I have seen Home Alone. That is one movie I have seen. Hawaiian pizza is a Canadian invention, says Gareth. Do you know what happened though? More than likely, I feel like the Hawaiians were like, hey, can we have the pizza? And because Canada's so nice, they were like, yeah, go on then, you can have it. Grab yourself a Coke float, says Stan. And The Green Mile, another prison movie. Yeah, that one's got old Tom Hanks in it, doesn't it? If I'm not wrong. And that big guy. And then they like try and zap him, don't they? Or something like that. I've only seen a very short amount of that movie. But Italy, they did have themselves 52 carries in that first half. More meters actually made by the Namibians throughout that first 40 minutes. 44 tackles made by Namibia, 11 tackles missed. They did concede 7 penalties, so that is something that they will certainly want to improve on throughout the second half. In terms of the possession, they had more of it. 53% in their favour, 52% in favour of themselves for territory also. Namibia is actually surprisingly good, says Philippines. Yeah, they've just played a very, I'll say a safe game of rugby. They've understood their set play. They've understood what they've needed to do in this game to be close. And if they can score early in the second half, could actually really benefit them. We have to remember the only tries that Italy have been able to score were when they were playing up against a 14-man Namibian side. Tim Honks is great in The Green Mile based on a true story. Says Kerr there, Namibia is actually surprisingly good. And South Africa, how about Boruwa's role, says Gary there. And Zulu is an excellent film. Throw that in for some controversy, says Kerr. And also we have got there, I'm selling virtual pizzas online. Here is one for free. Well, you are very, very generous man, Martin Smith. I do enjoy a pizza. I haven't had a pizza in like 4 months, which sounds really weird because normally like pizza, you'd like to have one monthly or so, but yeah, I think it's been about mid-year since I had a pizza. And I don't know why. I feel like I have to have one at some stage. Do you get Kit Kat in New Zealand? We certainly do. Kit Kat Chunkies, I think, are one of the best chocolate bars out there. And even just a Kit Kat bar that you can get that's like 200 grams or so, split in nicely. We have got there, what country do you live in, says Chronic for Krampus. They are just showing those tries that Italy were able to get for themselves. The first one being scored by Lorenzo Canoni, and then the second try being scored just a little bit later on. That was by Paolo Garbisi. Just wondering why Germany doesn't play rugby. Has it perhaps got something to do with the powers, says Stan? I believe they play rugby sevens though, so I'm not sure about the rugby union side of things. In fact, they do actually play in a European competition, if I'm not wrong, Germany. But yeah, I've seen a little bit more of them in the rugby seven circuit than I have in union. As of late, I haven't had pizza in a year, says Martin Smith. And Germany do play rugby, says Krampus. And also we have got their Sling Blade. It's a bloody brilliant film, I reckon, says Kernovik. We have got there what country's currency is real. I would assume Oman, if I'm not wrong. But I could be wrong there. And also soccer in the USA. US is a game heavily promoted towards young girls. The US women's team crashed out at the World Cup, says Mo. And Germany didn't qualify, says Philippines. And there as well, and probably is the cheapest pizza. Put you off pizza altogether. You need to buy the top tier piece or price or mid-price at least, says Martin Smith. And America can turn into a powerhouse if they want to, says Chronic Underachiever. Yeah, I think it's just about growing the game for the Americans. And I mean, this is going to be doing wonders for Namibian rugby because you look at this team that have never got themselves a win in the Rugby World Cup before. And I feel like after the performance that we've seen in that first 40 minutes, like their upcoming games, they have got their next game up against the All Blacks. That one might be a bit too much of an ask for them, although saying that, All Blacks not in the best form at the moment. But that game there, up against Uruguay, taking place at 4:45 a.m. on a Thursday. Why did they have to do that? I'll probably have to do that game and then go to work on Thursday. But that is going to be a very entertaining game because it could be extremely close. And Namibia actually have got themselves a win recently over the Uruguay side. So I think that the first World Cup victory for Namibia will be taking place this Rugby World Cup. As long as they play like they have in this first game up against Uruguay, I think that they've got a real shot of being able to do so. And we have got there, imagine Germany and England in the World Cup final. Was there from Stan? Are we talking Rugby World Cup or Football World Cup? I assume you're talking Rugby World Cup. And there, I would assume, can you imagine the uphill or the upheaval of New Zealand, or in New Zealand if Namibia beat New Zealand? To be fair, a few people are probably hoping that happens so that Ian Foster can get further down the pecking order. We have got there, how do you feel about the All Blacks losing yesterday, says Siddhartha? To be honest, the way that they were playing, you can't get away with giving away 11 penalties and win a game of rugby. It just doesn't quite work. A lot more clinical from France, a lot more disciplined, less handling errors. And they just played the better side, or just played the better game throughout the 40 minutes, the 80 minutes. 40 minutes in the second half, though, they were very impressive. Would be great, says Ria there, Namibia to get the upset today, says Albert. Yeah, that's the thing. I've been talking about their win, or a possible win up against Uruguay. They are still not out of this contest. They have now got a few more minutes to rest at halftime. Then from there, they get into the second half. If they can start quick, put Italy under pressure, we could have ourselves a very entertaining second 40 minutes of this contest. America have the option of playing a game as it is, or ruining it with typical American marketing and ads and over-the-top bollocks. Unfortunately, most likely it will be ruined, says Kerr. How do you rate Louis Rees-Zammit? And do you think he'll have a good World Cup? I feel like he's been a bit quiet recently, only because he's recently returned from injury. But I think he'll go all right, as long as they can get the ball out to him with proficient time that he can actually use it. Because that's going to be heavily relying on Dan Biggar, the midfield combination as well. We'll have to make sure that they're getting that ball as quickly out to the side. They're just showing an ad saying that every All Blacks game is a blank page. Unfortunately, the Rugby World Cup so far for them is a blank, with them sitting on 0 points. The problem with the All Blacks is they can't ever play solid rugby when scoreboard pressure mounts against them, says Martin Smith. And also we have got there, how weak was the AB's front row this morning? Yeah, it was poor. Unfortunately, they're going to have to make a couple changes there, I think. Because Ethan de Groot, he's been a bit out of form. They might have to look at. The thing is, I think it's only Mighty Williams. Mighty Williams is the big option there. And we have got you, can't have anyone under 100 kgs in modern rugby. If you want to be the best, says Martin Smith. Yeah, it always surprises me that Artie Savi only weighs in at about 93 or 96 kgs or something along those lines. Because, you know, you wonder if he was about 110, 115, whether or not there will be any more, I guess, magic that comes from that man. But then alongside that, we've also got to remember that if he's playing 7 more often, then he kind of needs that little bit more speed. How do you think Italy will go on this Rugby World Cup? It's going to be a tough one, but if they can get themselves a victory over the Namibians here and then also pull off a massive upset, beating either New Zealand or the French, got a decent chance of making it through. I feel like a lot of people probably counted them out at the start of this Rugby World Cup because of the teams in their group, but there was always going to be a loser in that France versus New Zealand game. So it gives them that little bit of a chance. The NFL versus rugby players game is a good laugh to watch. NFL gets absolutely destroyed. I can't hack it whatsoever, says Kerr there. And also we have got these water breaks are being introduced even in the cold weather to bring the ad breaks for the US Rugby World Cup, says Powerbite, and America will make it all about the money, and that is already becoming a problem in rugby, says Kerr. And not true, you don't need to weigh over 100 kgs to be the best, says Terminator 69. How much do you think the Terminator weighed? Because, like, he's got a bit of metal in him, doesn't he? So, like, he probably gets weighted down just that little bit more. I have only seen one of those movies. I had to do a film study on it. I had no idea what was going on. But I had to talk about, like, the angles that they were using. If Italy can't put Namibia away, that tells you everything you need to know, says Albert there. Although I don't think we can discredit how well Namibia have played throughout that first half. Their set play was looking absolutely phenomenal, getting about 13 phases in a row as well. It's been heavily helping them. Americans love sport. Their stadiums are enormous, says Krampus, and Italy are a problem team for France. Look at their recent results history, says Powerbite. Yeah, we actually saw in the most recent game between the two sides, I think it was about 29 points to 24 or something along those lines, just in favour of France. Terminator weighs 227.4 kgs. That is a large man, that is for sure. That's impressive. That's like 2 and a bit Artie Savius. But now the second half just about to get underway. They are just showing the highlights of that first Namibian try that they were able to score for themselves. Winning in the corner was very nicely done. World Cup in the USA will be a good time. Show us how to turn it into a spectacle, says Gareth. And how good do you think Portugal are? I think that Portugal are a little bit underrated, to be honest, because they have got a lot of ability. And I feel like the games between them and Georgia, first of all, is going to be very intriguing. See how they end up going. I think they need to move Capuzio to number 15 and get Allen off. Doesn't offer anything ball in hand, says Owen. And I think the other tricky part that they've got is Allen's taken the kicks, but I guess there's probably a few other options, to be fair. I think Varney has kicked before, and Paulo Garabesi could be able to step up as well. But yeah, it's interesting that we haven't really seen Capuzio throughout that first half, because normally he is one of those guys in the back line that when that ball goes to him, he has a real impact, but just not being able to find him yet. We have got there here as a conspiracy theory. New Zealand lost to South Africa in the warm-up in France in the opener on purpose to concoct a New Zealand versus South Africa quarter-final, says Martin Smith. Tell you what, it is a very interesting theory. You aren't actually the first person who has said that as well. But the thing is, I mean, it's a tricky one. I thought that New Zealand, out of the two teams in the quarterfinals, I thought they would have preferred to play Ireland, to be honest. But who knows? Maybe. I don't think they'd do that, though. I feel like for the All Blacks, unless they feel that they're already at, like, the end, you know? What do you think of Garland's comments on drinks breaks? Says Joel Morris. I didn't hear them. What were his comments? Joel, do let me know. And Boxer Win says Terminator 69, and I think they need to move Capuzio to number 15, says Owen. I'm wondering how early these two sides will decide to make their subs, of course, playing in some decent heat. Neither side really slowing down, though, throughout that first 40 minutes. The Italians, they will be kicking off from left to right, wearing the white kit, with the Namibians wearing the classic dark blue, but it's kicked off long into the shade. Nicely taken there by Richard Hardwick. I mentioned earlier on, plays for the Rebels in Super Rugby Pacific. That will be starting up late February alongside the Six Nations. We've also got a rugby game to look forward to that will be coming out in the future as well. Well, we are trash that people are making conspiracy theories, says Chronic Underachiever. And All Blacks simply don't have any planned full stop, says Albert. But it is kicked nicely downfield by Namibia down towards the halfway line. Tian Swanepoel sweating profusely in the heat. Namibia, they need to be the first team to strike in the second half. I feel like that is the big thing for them here. If they are able to get themselves the first try, it will take them to only being 4 points behind. 2 if the kick is successful. I think sometimes we have to accept our team's just not that good anymore. I'm being told that all the time now, says Fleshin. Although I did back Wales to go well throughout this Rugby World Cup. We'll have to wait and see after that game up against the Fijians whether that is going to be the reality or not. Now Varney going off to the left-hand side. Sebastian Negri, nice run forward from him. And there was a little knock on the ground. So now Namibia. This will almost be their first scrum feed in quite some time, I believe. Oh, and never mind, because it's been upgraded to a penalty. And also we have got our 2 nuke packs. The box will bully their opponents, says Hamilton, and everybody wants to see Farrell smirking as he lifts the World Cup on French soil, says Krampus. Going to be kicked downfield. That was actually marched back, or became a penalty for dissent. That is something you don't hear too often. So I would say what happened is there was a knock on. One of the Italians was not happy with the referee, and then the ref said, no, not having it. We'll march you back. I watched the second half for Nabawé. Hopefully I've said that correctly. Or Nabawé, is it? This is where the heat goes for Italy, says Stan. Now rolling maul for the Namibians. One of the Italians getting a little bit hot-headed, giving away that last penalty. Now nice rolling maul here. Funds Yarsfield. At the back, going back across to the right-hand side. I've just realised it's Ricky Swannell doing the commentary, the New Zealand commentator from the 7 circuit. Of course, 7's coming back early November. We will be covering that on the channel as well. Now going off to the left-hand side for Namibia, running a little bit low on space, and the ball has been knocked out of his hands, so the knock-on advantage now to the Italians. Garabisi fires it back now to Tommaso Allen, who keeps the ball low and looks to drive it as far downfield as he can. And that one's going to pull up just inside of the Namibian 5-metre line, kicked downfield by Rizzo. Oh, Italy having a bit of a juggle of it, Garabisi, but he was able to clean it up in the end and keeps it on the side of the Italians, slings it across to the left. And they do go for the kick in behind again. Namibia charging forward, looking for the 50-22. As the angle there, it's just going to keep rolling. So they'll go right back to where the ball was kicked from. It's not that the Abs are bad. They just have next to no discipline, and the penalties cost them dearly with without the 5 penalties. New Zealand won. And yes, I know it's not straightforward, but it's points lost. Says Kerr, yeah, you can't get away with 11 penalties happening throughout a game and expect to have a decent chance of winning a contest. In the UK, we have Tom Shankland on the commentary, says Joel Morris. And also we have got there and the chat as well. Rugby isn't a very popular sport in England, maybe 4th or 5th, says Crumpus. Is it? So I'd assume football would go ahead of it and maybe cricket. What are the other 2 or the other 1 that goes ahead in England? What else do English viewers enjoy? Golf? Now Stephen Varney to feed the ball in again for the Italians. Oh, it's going down. And that is going to be the penalty in favour of the Italians. They could take on the 3 points. Oh, rugby league. Fishing, tennis and golf, says Krampus. Do they televise fishing? Out of curiosity. Like, I'd assume that, like, you know, those, like, big bass guys who, like, catch a whole heap of fish back to back to back with their bass rods and whatnot. Do they, like, televise that? I'd assume there'd be some sort of, like, pro bass competition somewhere. And Australia and England would be a great matchup, playing for the worst team in 2023. Darts and snooker. Sports for overweight alcoholics, but sports nonetheless. Says Sebastian, I'm trying to think of an English tennis player, says Kerr. And now driving towards the line, the Italians 2 metres out, dragged down just short of the try line in the end was Simeone Ferrari. Now going around the side of the breakdown, it will be the big man Dino Lamb. Sell the dummy from the captain Lamaro. Only inches out from, though, getting themselves another try here, the Italians. And this time it would be up against the 15 men on the field for the Namibians. Again, it will be Dino Lamb. Tries to drive his legs. He's partially held up by the Namibians. He's over the line, though. That actually hurt them there. Namibia tried to keep him off the ground, and then he just allowed his momentum to go forward. We have got darts as the number 1. Sport in England, says Albert. And we have also got there, fishing is televised on ESPN. Ever heard of the World Bass Champs, says Charles. Yeah, I thought there was something along those lines that they would end up televising it. If you used a cake instead of a ball, the rule would be you have to get a try before the cake deteriorates, says Martin Smith. Fun fact, well, do I spoil this just in case it does become a video? We have a rugby ball cake mold that I bought. I won't tell you what we were going to put in that cake mold, but we thought about doing something with it. That doesn't sound dodgy at all, does it? F1 is very big in England. And are you doing the Irish match next? We certainly are. The next game is going to be taking place up against Ireland and Romania. That is at 1:30 a.m. New Zealand time. Americans love their fishing. And Wimbledon is in England. Surely that doesn't count, says Kerr. Nice try being scored by the big man, Dino Lamb. Now 22 points to 8. Starting to extend just that little bit further the lead of the Italians. And the kick is successful from Tommaso Allen. And now after 47 minutes, 24 points to 8. And this is where it gets to be a little bit of trouble for Namibia because they cannot afford to concede another try in the next maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But this is when the Italians will try and strike when the iron's hot and get themselves maybe 1 or 2 more. It looks like they're actually going to be looking to their bench now, making a few of the changes. Fun fact, rugby is the second most popular team sport in England, says Bowbite. And also we have got there, a cake ball has to be created, says Martin. Although the big question is, how would you hold a cake together if you made it into a ball? Like, you'd have to get some really... It'd have to be really dry, wouldn't it? So that it can kind of harden. Maybe you freeze it. Be something you could do. Fox hunting probably high in England. Says Stan and Namibia need to start playing some more Tier 1 teams before the next World Cup if they want a chance of doing well, says Joel Morris. And I feel like this has probably opened up the door for more sides in the future to be like, hey, maybe we should be taking on Namibia. I know that they played Chile. They played up against the Argentine XV, and then also they had a game up against Uruguay in their Rugby World Cup warm-up games. But I feel like a game between, let's say, Namibia versus Japan or Namibia versus Fiji would be quite an intriguing one. Get to see. Nicely run forward, though, from Namibia. Back on attack once more. Now Stevens goes across into the hands of the big man at number 4, Adrian Luddick. Now, we did already see a 4 score in this game just before Dino Lamb. Are you going to stream the Ireland and Romania game? We certainly are. We are transferring over to that live stream relatively quickly after this one. So if you are new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Nice backline movement here for the Namibians. Crowd are booing something there, maybe feeling that there was a little bit of offside, and I can understand that because Lamato looked like he was almost in the Namibian backline, but the pressure being put on by the big number 8, Kanone, manages to get the turnover and wins the penalty for Namibia. How would Namibia versus South Africa fare? Says Chronic Underachiever. I mean, if you give Namibia a little bit more time to develop, you know, I feel like they'd hold their own in that game. Yes, it might be a one-sided score, but I feel like they'd still have moments throughout it that they look strong. And facts are only as reliable as your source, says Albert. And also we have got the how many players are with Namibia that plays with Munster. Not a huge amount, I don't believe. I'm looking through at this side. You know, you got Richard Hardwick who plays in Super Rugby Pacific. Tian Swanepoel plays in the URC for the Lions. So there are a few players from overseas competition in there. But tennis players don't have to be English for the English to enjoy watching tennis, says Krampus there. Now going back across to the left-hand side. Nice step coming in from Polo Garbisi. Are you trying to argue with people just to argue with people, Krampus? Does seem a bit that way. We're now 15 metres out from the line. Going back to the left. Nice skip pass. Kanoni now breaking through one tackle 10 metres out from the line here. Now going to the short side. Quick hands from the Italians looking for the offload on the inside. Was Capuzio, but he's cut off nicely. And now referees have a decision to make in terms of whose hand that hit. I believe it is going to be a line-out throw for the Namibians. A very good commentary. You got my sub and like from South Africa. Says Pomtier. Thank you very much, mate. Usually appreciate it. Anyone who is new, Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We have got plenty more Rugby World Cup coming just around the corner. We've got Daniel in the chat as well. Has said hi, welcome in. I'm not arguing, I'm stating facts and people are disagreeing, says Crumpus. Are you arguing with me, Crumpus, in that case? Mate, is the Groot from South Africa, from the Netherlands or Kiwi? I believe he's got Netherlands genes, if I'm not wrong. They're just trying to work out whether or not that ball was off Capuzio or whether it maybe took a bit of a hit onto the Namibians. We have got there today. The most interesting match will be played. I assume you are talking England versus Argentina, although there are a few very intriguing games of the Rugby World Cup. I know a lot of people are considering that Wales versus Fiji game one of the most interesting ones because they just don't know how Wales are going to match up with a Fijian informed side. That is going to be the free kick to Namibia, closing the gap at line-out time. Viviers on the field now for Namibia, also de Klerk making his way on the field for Ludik, and Galsib making his way out onto the field as well. Morris dancing isn't a sport. Sounds like you're arguing, Crumpus. And very true, says Kerr. And when Murray wins, he's British. When he loses, he's Scottish. Says Sebastian, hello, watching the game from India. Says Raiden there, so welcome in. Hope you are doing very well. What time is it in India at the moment, Raiden? Do let me know. I think it's probably around maybe 8 p.m. or maybe 6 p.m., somewhere around there. Now, line out throw, it is going to be Favour. Does end up bouncing onto the side of the Italians. There is also a knock-on advantage in favour of Italy again on the halfway line. Varney goes off to Garabisi. This looks dangerous in the midfield here. Garabisi almost was able to find his offload away. Player losing his footing next to him. So wasn't able to find that offload up now. Nice run forward from Juan Inacio Brex. Italy looking like they're having a little bit more in terms of the set pieces of the second half, although Hardwick manages to get the ball back. It's a double knock on. So we will go back to the scrum again. It is 5:45 p.m, says Raiden there. And in South Africa, we start playing rugby in preschool around 5 years of age. Presuming that happens in most of the tier 5 or top 5 tier 1 nations. That's what feeds the national team. And Daniel said, are you speaking English? Only slightly. Sometimes I forget where I'm from. So sometimes I speak my own language, you know. It's a bit tricky at times. The Murray comment is old news. Says Mo and chill people, let's concentrate on the rugby people. So thanks so much, says Charles. I'm from Namibia. I don't think we have even 5,000 people registered at all the clubs in the country, says Tinker. So question for you, Tinker. After this performance from Namibia, the fact that they are on the world stage playing in a Rugby World Cup, do you think that that number will increase? I feel like a lot of people will watch this young Namibian childs, or children, as they're called, and, you know, they might say, hey, I want to try rugby, see how it goes. And years time zones are crazy. When it's 0:00 in the world, and India it's past. Says Kronk underachiever. Here's a Kiwi, of course he speaks English, says Charles. And also we have got there, also Kahid Heat is still the best prison movie ever, or Caged Heat. Okay. See, I have not seen a lot of movies, and I feel like that's something I have to work on. Definitely not during the Rugby World Cup. I think I'm going to be struggling to sleep, let alone managing to get to watch any rugby. What time will the rugby finish? Says Daniel. Right, I'll try my best to say it in English. The last game finishes at 9 a.m. This game finishes in 28 minutes. There you go. Hopefully you got that bit. I repeat, England are the only country to win the cricket, rugby and football World Cups. They're the only country that ever will, says Akaris. And then around 9 p.m. on October the 10th, I think, says Dan. And the scrum, says Russell. Yeah, they have had a couple scrum resets, just waiting for the subs as well. They are just about to have the scrum for the Namibians. 45 metres out from the line. Looks like it's holding up relatively strong there for Namibia. Started getting shaky near the end, but they were able to get the ball out of the back now. Kicked him behind from the youngster. Stevens trying to chase after this one. Monty Ioane is back and he has put himself under a huge amount of pressure. Only 2 metres out from the line. Gets up and goes himself. Throws the ball away. That's a yellow card. That has to be a yellow. Because the ball has been ripped away from the Namibians' chance of taking it quickly. Quite impressed by Namibia so far. Well done. Says Kerr there. Namibia has a very small population. Not much going on there. So large growth unlikely. Says Albert. I'm glad you're doing this. Thanks, says Fook. And yeah, we've got plenty more rugby live streams Coming up in the near future, ladies and gentlemen, we are covering a majority of this Rugby World Cup. Now they are looking to go for the quick tap and go. That is some classic rugby being shown by the Namibians here, and they are looking to get themselves just that little bit closer back into this contest. Now short ball, big shot coming in on de Klerk. Back to the left. Forward replacements, getting their hands on the ball early. Nice step from Namibia, 4 metres out from the line. They have got numbers to the left-hand side if they do want to use it. Looks like Stevens has seen it. Now going across again. The Vesterhuizen. Oh, it's the turnover for Italy. They were able to get in the breakdown. Unfortunately, a little bit isolated there for Van der Vesterhuizen. And it hurt. You are where you are born. That's the rules. And does the rugby game finish at 9 a.m. in the morning? Says Daniel, the last Rugby World Cup game does. This game, like I said, finishes in about 27 minutes' time. They did discover oil off the Namibia coast with the $ says Albert. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like, says Sebastian. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 30,000 subscribers. And we are getting very close. I'll have a quick look, see whereabouts we are sitting. But yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more live streams coming in the near future for the Rugby World Cup. We are only 135 away. So if you do want to help us get there, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Looks like a little bit of an eye knock here for de Klerk. He might have to go get some stitching. And back onto the field now will be the number 4, Adrian Luddick. We have good there. Can Namibian win only 1 World Cup? Come so far, their record is 0, says Dion. I think that their best chances in the game up against Uruguay. I think that they'll have a real crack there. Nice backline movement here from the Italians now. Capuzio, a lot of space opening up. He's got Monty Ioane to his left-hand side if he decides to use him, and he certainly does. Inside ball, back to Capuzio. It's class from Italy, and they get themselves another try in the second half. We have got there, well, good run by Italy. Says sighted. And yeah, it was just a back and forth play between Capuzio and also Monty Ioane, both wingers running down the same side, always going to be dangerous, and now that makes the score 29 points to 8 in favour of Italy. Okay, see this fantastic rug munching movie by Evans when female football players... I see. I have just been informed that the delivery of lube for Romania ahead of their pasting with pasting with Ireland has been delivered to the stadium. Romania are applying the lube now. Says Monsieur. I think that's the same lube that the All Blacks have been using because they can't catch the ball to save themselves. But Capuzio, great step down the wing. Brilliant finish in the corner from the youngster. And it's just too much pressure. Unfortunately, it became a 2-on-1 for JC Grayling. We haven't really seen hugely throughout this game. We've seen more of Mouton out on the other wing. Sure is. Named the winners of the Basketball World Cups. Are not high on that list of world sports, though, as it says Akaris. We have got there and the chat as well. Well, good run by Italy. And the Proteas cricket lost my support, says LJ the man. They recently played in a series up against the Australians, didn't they, in T20? I'm not too sure how they're going to go on the ODI World Cup, though. Brilliant kick from the touchline from Garbisi. Or was it? It was actually Tommaso Allen who still took that kick and managed to curl it round very nicely. Unfortunately, Namibia can't compete with the Six Nations teams, says Albert. And it's just one of those ones that, you know, you look at some of those European sides, maybe we see Namibia joining into a competition with them, the likes of Portugal, Spain, a few of those other sides, and perhaps that does help their development. But until they can get a whole heap of games up against top-class opposition, they will struggle to keep on improving. And we've already seen in this game that even when they've been playing slightly easier opposition, like, it's been making them improve. So imagine the drastic improvement we would see if they were versing top-tier sides on a back-to-back-to-back. We have given them a sister play basketball in school. Well, netball, the same really, says Kerr there. I'm here in Namibia, massive country with a tiny population. The major cities are hundreds of kilometres apart. But I would say that almost all the players come from one town, says Bruno. Nice backline here for Italy again. Juan Inesio Briggs goes off to Capuzio, and now it's almost a repeat of what we just saw. He passes on the outside to Monty Ioane, who might look for the inside ball. No, he goes himself, Monty. Rather than finding the pass, that'll be a knock-on and the breakdown from the Italians. So the knock-on advantage should be in favour of Namibia, but they haven't got it just at this current point. Nice step there from Richard Hardwick, or Hardwick, I believe it was. actually with the ball. Next game starts soon, says Monsieur. It does indeed. And what time do the next game start? It does start at 1:30 a.m. New Zealand time. Easy win coming for the All Blacks against Namibia next week. The relief, says the night. And also Namibia has 2.53 million people, says Wiki, says Wise One. And ice hockey is big, says Albert. There as well. What happened to Zimbabwe Rugby? I think it's still about. It's just that unfortunately they did lose their qualification games for the Rugby World Cup. I believe they're ranked around that 30 mark in the world, maybe even 40 as we currently sit. We have got there Namibia not going well, shows how bad Alistair Kutsia as a coach, or was as a coach for South Africa. I disagree. I think Namibia have outclassed what a lot of people thought that they would in this game. And yes, the scoreline now is starting to go a little bit more in favour of the Italians, but I honestly feel like Namibia in this game, they've had a pretty good showing. They've shown that their backline and their set piece is relatively sound. They just need maybe a little bit more possession throughout the game and just that little bit more defence at times to help them out. That's a game then well played Italy and Zimbabwe. It's hard for them to qualify for the Rugby World Cup now, says LJ. Well, now that South Africa is in the Rugby World Cup, says LJ there. But we have got another drinks break currently. 57 minutes through. Anyone who hasn't already, be sure to grab yourself a beverage. We've got plenty more rugby action coming all throughout the night. The next game that we are covering, it is going to be the exciting one taking place between Ireland and Romania. Now, that could be relatively one-sided, but I'm hoping it's going to be maybe a little bit of an upset in terms of what Romania are able to do, keeping it close for a start. And guys in Namibia have the heart and the attitude to play strong rugby. If they had the same resources toward rugby as most other nations, they would be a dangerous team, says Dylan. Exactly right. Like, they've shown in this game by making 465 metres when they've had the ball in hand. They've actually had more than the Italians. They had more possession throughout that first half. So there's a lot of potential there. And hopefully we keep on seeing the progression of Namibian rugby in the near future. Is that 4 tries for Italy now, says Akaris? I believe so. So they now have got themselves the bonus point on the board. Referee calls for the free kick against Namibia for closing that gap a little bit more. And go Namibia, says Shack of Hearts. And we have got there, if I was a rugby player, you probably won't or wouldn't be able to pronounce my surname, says Chronic Underachiever. And prediction for the Ireland game, do Ireland score 70 points? Not quite, I don't think. I think that they'll be a little bit lower. Like, they could get 50 or 60, but I don't think they'll quite get to 70. Meaning Namibian players play club rugby in South Africa, says Albert there. And also, we have got in the chat, I think a majority of Namibians' team are South African, says Monsieur. They've got a few players scattered around the place, but yeah, a lot of them do play in the South African competition. Are you commentating on the England-Argentina game, says Gary? We certainly are. So that will be the last game of the day that we cover up until those 3 games later on. So yeah, it's going to be a very exciting one indeed. And a close game between those two sides is to be expected. But now going to the right-hand side for the Italians. Juan Inacio breaks, nice wide skip pass, but Namibia managed to get themselves the ball back up until the penalty advantage. They do return. Okay, standing up in the scrum. That's what they've been penalised there. Do you think that Namibia can win a game this World Cup, says Malu? I believe they can. I think that their game up against Uruguay, they'll have a very good chance of being able to do so. Who do you have winning, Fiji or Wales, says Ash? The thing is, I think in my prediction, I went with Wales sneakily, but I still had Fiji making it out of the pool stage, going on to the quarterfinals. But to be honest, that game could go either way. I see Fiji are about $2.50 underdogs, but it's just one of those ones that, you know, they've got a good chance up against Wales. And fair play to Namibia. Such limited rugby resources, they still make the Rugby World Cup. It takes commitment and skill, says Kerno Wick. And it's funny how people are against the Italians as the big side says. Fletcher, nice rolling maul now for Italy, moving to 2 metres out from the line, stepping around this side. Oh, I think he was just short. The referee, Andrew Brace, was about to give that as a try. Didn't realise he was just short of the goal line. And just for the Box fans, saw a video on YouTube that State Broadcaster will be showing all the Box games free to air, says Brian. And yeah, I think it's SABC is what it is called. And that is going to be this time a try for the Italians. They get over, and it is going to be the number 1 Fischetti who crosses the white line. What time does the next game start in England, says Daniel? I saw Flesh and told you earlier on that it's 2:30 p.m. in England, but I guess you didn't see that one. Very close. Oh, ball knocked out of his hands. That should be a knock-on against the Italians, and I believe that that will count as no try now. We have got there, be $1,000. England haven't asked like a broken cat flap, says Kerr. That is a saying I have not heard. Who is refereeing the next match? I'm not actually sure who the referee is for that next game, but as soon as we know, of course, we will be letting you all know as well. I've got the Box winning this Rugby World Cup again, says Monsieur. And also we've got there, Kumru will have to fight hard, says LJ. And yeah, the Fijians, they will bring that physicality early on in the game. They're saying stand by, they just want to check this one. I believe there was a knock on though. Yeah, knocked out of his hands. I believe that that should be a knock-on, no try. And I think Augustine Crevi will play from the kickoff of the match. Is that due to an injury of Julian Montoya? Because I know that originally Montoya is supposed to be in the starting lineup rather than Augustine Crevi. Broken cat flap is just a cat because it doesn't flap, says Krampus. No, have you heard of like a cat flap like that goes in your door, Krampus? I swear you are just once again arguing for the sake of arguing. There's a saying about that, but I won't say it. I really hope Namibia get another score, says Kerr. And yeah, they've looked dangerous throughout this game. I think that they do deserve more than one try with the amount of running metres that they have been able to get for themselves. Kimru knows how to fight. The Welsh are bred from real Celtic warrior bloodlines. No BS, says Kerr Nowak. Yeah, it's going to be called as a no try. Namibia, sorry. Now I've got themselves the scrum feed. Relatively tricky part of the field. A Dogwoo now on the field. I know what a cat flap is, for God's sake, says Grumpus, so you do admit you were just arguing for the sake of it. Now 18 minutes remaining. This game currently quite a split between the two sides in terms of the point. The score on the screen is wrong, says Connor. It is, but it will update itself and go back to 31 at some stage in the future. Now back across to the left here. Namibia 10 metres out from their line. Need to get a little bit more go forward. Well, it looks like they will be putting this back into the pocket to go for the kicking option. And it's a decent kick from Swanepoel. Gets a lot of distance on it. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the angle that he was after. So now only about 24 metres out from their line, the Italians. They now have got themselves a line out. Good position on the field. What's your thought on allowing a minimum of one punch per player in an 80-minute game, says Monsieur? They will never do it, I don't think. I mean, if they want to punch players, they'll probably play hockey, won't they? Because they actually have designated fighting that you're allowed to do. And now, ball available at the back for the Italians. Garbisi. In fact, it's going to be Odogwu now in the midfield. His first carry since making his way onto the field. Going to the right-hand side now. Thought about the kick in behind. That was a forward pass from the Italians. So Namibia once again end up with the ball. Finding the offload was the skipper. And now the space starts to open up down the short side. Cross kick accidentally. I believe that wasn't on purpose, but it's turned out to be a decent kick off the left-hand boot. You need to clarify, does each player get one punch, or do you get one punch per each player one time? Says Kerr. And Odogwu knocking that one on as well. Now Namibia have got themselves yet again another scrum. A thing the Namibians are known for is well with shears. I feel like I've really mispronounced that, so I do apologise. What day is it in New Zealand? We are currently sitting on Sunday here in New Zealand. And Diana, I should say, sorry, how's your mum? Sending my best wishes from Kiwi mum in Brunei. She's doing very well. She did play golf today. Actually got round of the day as well, so she did very well on the golf course. She was considering joining me for one of these live streams with the fact that it was 11 p.m. start time. I think at the time that I set my alarm for to wake up, she was already asleep. Yeah, she's doing well. How about punching the referee, says Wise One? You should never do that. We see that way too much in the amateur game already. So yeah, referees shouldn't be punched, ideally. And anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I've noticed the camera's glitching a little bit today. I think that's just from my poor Wi-Fi, unfortunately, but hopefully it does sort itself out for the end of the week. We have got Lowell says a human chapter. You get the option to throw one punch. Says Monsieur, does the player that you're going to try and punch know that it's coming? And do you have like a designated puncher in your team, in your rule set, Monsieur? I feel like there are a few flaws in the plan, I'll be honest. I don't think it will catch on. Now Namibia, halfway line. Nicely done. Off to the left-hand side now. Dean Swanepoel, big run forward from the captain. But once again, the ball has been dropped by Namibia. Their handling has been a little bit lackluster in the second half. Nice little grubber in behind. The ball just rolls into touch ahead of the number 15, Devan Russo. We'll give you red card this tournament. Says LJ, I feel like the ABs, I would all punch Fozzie. Says Kurt, what day is it in England? Says Daniel. Well, you live in England, so you should be able to tell me, but it is currently sitting Saturday for yourself. But yeah, calendars are pretty handy too. People in North America must be looking at rugby thinking it's barbarian to play contact sport without protective gear, says Albert. And also we have got their thoughts on the French falling over in yesterday's game. Not a fan of players trying to milk penalties, says Monsieur. I mean, to be fair, in that game up against the All Blacks, they didn't have to milk them because the All Blacks were giving them away thick and fast anyway. Now, 30 metres out from their line, Italy. Nice bit of stepping there in the midfield from the young replacement halfback. Monty Ioane, not a huge amount of space there, but manages to find the offload on the inside to Capuzio. Low tackle made on him by the replacement from the Merva. Oh, sorry, it's actually from the Vesterhazen at number 16, and the turnover is good for Namibia. They take the ball back, almost another drop ball, managing to hang on to it. Another run from Johan Retief, and the penalty goes the way of Namibia again. Show this guy some love, people. Hit the like button, says Darren BK. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button also. We have got plenty more Rugby World Cup coming just around the corner. I'm a little bit disappointed that I wasn't able to get all the videos out this week that I did want to. But next week, we are planning on having a few more on the channel alongside the live streams. So yeah, be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, and also subscribe to the channel. South Africa could borrow Namibia, our C team, on the next World Cup. Says a human chapter, and Hamish should pay $1 for each like, says Crumpus. But the question is, where would I pay that money to? And what day is it in New Zealand? Like I said, it's Sunday at the moment, so we are a little bit ahead. I can tell you what the weather's doing tomorrow because we've already seen it. Now, it's gone over the top. Loose ball, nicely picked up by the Italians, a Dogwu. And it's another penalty to Namibia. I believe that was entry through the side of the breakdown. Do you have Māori in you, says Monsieur? I do not know. We did do one term of Māori at school, so I know like 2 sentences, but that's about it. And also, most of these guys talking mostly. Let's watch some rugby, guys, says Stan Paulson. Yeah, I think everyone's in a very chatty mood for the Rugby World Cup. There's a lot of tension at times, isn't there? We have got there with the confused face from the human chapter. I assume that is for the what day it is, maybe. In that case, it was a joke. We have got there, Hamish should donate $1 to charity for each like, says Crumpus. Well, the thing is, if this live stream ends up getting 100 likes, that would mean I would probably have to do a lot more hours during the week to be able to keep up with that all throughout. I think that New Zealand versus France game probably ended up with about 700 likes. So I would probably have to work more and do less live streams so that I could afford to do that each stream. And donate to Namibia Rugby. Do you think Italy are easing into their game or starting at full pace? I think that they've been a little bit more conservative in the second half. They know that they've got themselves the victory at this point, so they just don't want to risk any injuries and still want to get the fundamentals right. And Namibia starting to get themselves a little bit more attack, 5 metres out from the line, rolling maul, now starting to open up. This is looking very decent now for the Namibian. Maybe a second try scored just around the corner, moving within 2 metres now. I see that the fullback is actually in the breakdown. That is something that is slightly risky to do. They need him out in the back line, I would think, at this stage, only just around the corner. And that will be another penalty for the Namibians. How was your reaction to the All Blacks loss? It wasn't really too bad overall, I think. We were doing the commentary all throughout the game. Shame you can't go to the Rugby World Cup. We should have crowdfunded for you, says Monsieur. Crumpus should pay $5 for each comment, says Peter Wyatt. I like your way of thinking. I was going to say he should pay $5 every time he tries to start an argument. But the man, he would be broke at this stage. We have got there go Namibia, says Tanya C. And I want Italy to win. And also, hello, it's been a while. How are you doing? Says, oh, you're doing very well, mate. Hope you are keeping well also. Now another opportunity now with Vinter Vesterhazen. Throw the ball in 5 metres out from the line for Namibia. Nicely taken. At the front. The rolling maul hasn't really made too many metres. They are still going sideways at this point. Although now, few more of the backs are joining in with this rolling maul, trying to get that momentum pushing forward. It has swirled round Italy. That's going to go down, but I believe they get themselves the scrum there. We have got the I can sign the national anthem, but don't know any Maori. Says chronic underachiever, and I've predicted a 35 points difference for Italy. I fancy my chances to get that about right. That would be a first, says Akaris. Yeah, I'm going to have to look up what my score prediction was. I can't actually remember what I had in the end. We have got there, stop reading my comments, Peter. Says, Monsieur, I may charge you $5 for each comment, says Crumpers. If that was the case, I'd just block you, because I wouldn't have to pay any money. And All Blacks did very bad, says Willem. Now, scrum feed for the Italians. They've done relatively decently, just out from their own try line in terms of that defence. Right, I'm scrolling down for my score prediction in this game between Italy and Uruguay. No, Italy versus Namibia is the one that I'm after. I actually went 44 points to 13 in favour of Italy, so they're not quite there yet. Couple more tries and one more from Namibia would put us there, but there isn't a lot of time left on the clock. And also the bookie spread was around 34-35 for Italy, says Wise One. Now Kieran Crowley getting a little bit of a round of applause. Although I don't think that was for him. I think that was for the subs that are being made. I see that Ricky Oni has now made his way onto the field for the last 12 minutes or so. So Italy, I believe in this game, in fact, for both of these sides, they've got out of it relatively injury-free. We saw one little knock for de Klerk. At one point, people underestimate how good France was yesterday. If the All Blacks played another team, they could have scored 50 points, especially the first half, says the Human chapter. And yeah, I think France are definitely going to be one of those sides to watch out for throughout this Rugby World Cup. They had all the pressure on them. Home side up against the All Blacks, and they were able to handle it with ease. Yeah, looking forward to how they go throughout the rest of their games in this Rugby World Cup. All about to be fed in by the Italians. Trying to get the penalty advantage. They will not receive it here though. Now cross kick from Garbisi. Running onto it, it will be Monty Ioane. Awkward bounce. Capuzio knocks the ball on. And we've got ourselves another scrum. There's been a lot more of those in the second half than the first. What type of field are they playing on? Looks like a grass carpet. Says cited. Yeah, it looks quite lush, doesn't it? Which was probably quite nice to play on for the players. I moved to Zimbabwe in 1980. My parents moved back there. I did O-levels, had to play rugby because they had no baseball or decent basketball. Zimbabwe produced Beast, Skinstead and Pocock. Says Mo there, and it's a grass field, says Krampus. And Argentina or England, who wins, says Monsieur. It's going to be very close between those two sides, that is for sure. So, hard to say. England are due a good performance, but Argentina could be the dark horse of this whole Rugby World Cup. And the era so far, we've seen 12 from Italy compared to the 6 in Namibia. So that is somewhere that the Italians will want to improve on for their next game. And we have also got their Arinsa, best player in the world currently, says Albert. As Hansen on the bench for Ireland today, says Connor. I'm not actually too sure if Matt Hansen pops. I don't know that Keith Earls is in the starting lineup on that right wing side. Now, nice run forward from the skipper. Once again at number 13, Johan Dazel. Now, Namibia, can they get one more try in the last 10 minutes? Nobody wants to watch fishing. It's boring unless it's river monsters, says Krampus. I actually watch a bit of fishing on YouTube. Like when people go to like a deserted island and then just fish for 24 hours. Like I'll watch that while editing and I'll have a great time. Now, to the left again, Namibia. They've got the players' numbers and they've actually kicked it in behind there, but Monty Ioane is back to cover. His opposite number, he has been able to get away from him. JC Grayling running straight sideways, which normally is what you're told not to do in under nines, but in this case for Monty Ioane, he's got just enough base to break forward, but he's dragged down 40 metres out from their own try line now. 9 minutes left on the clock. Garbisi thought about the cross kick, and in fact, he has still tried it. It has gone into touch, though. We've got that golf is boring for me, but millions love it, says Crumpus. And also we have got there, is golf boring for you to watch, says LJ. I probably, if I had to choose what I want to watch, I probably wouldn't watch golf, but I would play golf if it was an option, if that makes sense. I don't mind playing golf, it's just the watching golf, I'd rather do it myself, even though it's nowhere near as good as when they do it. I don't think he's on the bench, Connor, so yes, probably on the bench. Or probably on the beach, says Brian, and Namibia will try to win the next game, says Willem, and yeah, they're going to be up against the All Blacks. It's going to be a tough one. They're just checking this challenge from a Namibian player. It sounds like there could have been a shoulder charge. Okay, it's going to be a penalty against them. No arm wrap. Should Romania apply lube for the game against Ireland, says Monsieur? No. No, they shouldn't, because that will make the ball slippery, Monsieur. And of course, they do not want that. Do you think Rieko Ioane is the best 13 we've had? It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I feel like Conrad Smith, to be honest, for me, would still be a little bit higher up. I know that people would look back to that combination of like Bunce and Little as well. Maybe as number 13-wise. Walter Little, I think it was. Props to the prop. Says cited. We also got the Zimbabwe left Pocock with 1,000 hang-ups. Italian Negri seems to be better adjusted Zimbabwean. Bite, but that is kicked downfield from Italy. Now will be the line out from about 40 metres out from the line. Conrad Smith says Bite. Bunce was awesome. Says Bite there too. He's a big boy. Man who came off the bench for the Namibians. Looks like a solid freight train, the number 18. Who of you heard about Conrad Koch and Conrad Smith in recent years? Yes, says Kuno Vic. And when will you be back on, says Daniel Applegate. So the next live stream will be starting at, I believe it is 1:20 a.m. New Zealand time. Nice wide cutout pass for the Italians here. Number 23, ball on the inside to the fullback, Juan Inacio Brex. In fact, no, sorry, it will be instead Tommaso Allen. Quick offloads from Italy, thick and fast. Now Odogwu drives his legs towards the try line, 2 metres out. And Italy looking to strike once more while they still have time left on the clock. Nice bit of work from the Namibians in the breakdown to slow it down partially. But Italy still have a lot of players right next to the ruck, and that will be the try for the Italians. I believe that is going to be Fiver who crosses the try line. We have got their penalty for grabbing a collar. If says Brian, although that one that they showed there was for a shoulder to the head. Or kind of like a no arms wrap. Do you play rugby, Hamish? I do not. I used to play rugby, then I just never got the ball. I was out on the wing. We had a very greedy halfback and a greedy fly half. Anytime you came off the wing to try and get involved, the coach would yell at you. So I was like, not quite for me. Garda BC, brilliant cutout pass out wide. It's a great run as well, but in the end, the man who crossed the try line was Fiver. We've got Joe Stanley was a bloody good centre, a real bust, says Kernovic. And also we have got their, Hamish, you have good content, refrain from engaging trolls, please, says Mo. And also we have got their billions is too much, says Krampus. Now 6 minutes remaining. Kick has gone over, so that will now make the score 38 points to 8 in favour of the Italians. Where's the other Kiwi lad, says Monsieur? Well, they are smart, they are sleeping, because it is currently almost 1 a.m. here in New Zealand. So I don't think any of the other lads are doing an all-nighter tonight. It's just me for these next 3 live streams after this. I like golf. I just can't play it, says Gareth. Yeah. It's one of those ones that once you get the hang of it, it can become a lot more fun. But until that ball starts going where you want it to, it can be very frustrating. Now Namibia going to be kicking off, and this scoreline starting to look a lot more in favour of the Italians. What time will the England versus Argentina match be in New Zealand time? So it is a 7 a.m. kickoff for us here in New Zealand. Now 22 metres out from the line for the Italians. Once again, the backline looking strong. Odogwu receives the pass from Tommaso Allen. Just a little bit outside of the 22, so aren't able to kick this one into touch on the full for the Italians, but it doesn't look like they want to do much kicking. They want to try and run this Monte Ioane offloading from his back. Now slinging it off to the right, Capuzio. Short ball, quick hands out wide. To Bruno. Looks like he's just going to keep this ball in the field of play. Namibia committing to the ball, but not quite able to get it back. Now Italy starting to show a little bit more of their class in terms of their passing game. Short ball from Tommaso Allen. He has been extremely involved in the last little 5-minute phase. And he's got the ball again, Tommaso. Offloaded up to the try scorer, Fiver. Now Riccioni taken down. To the left, they've got numbers with a dog woo to break down the wing. Breaks through one tackle. Not able to get through the tackle attempt, though, of Tian Swanepoel. Italy keeping this ball alive, but now it's been stripped out of their hands. And Swanepoel will boot it way downfield, looking for the 50-22. The ball not quite going to curve the way that he wanted it to, so Italy now clean it up 10 metres out from their try line. Montejoani breaks through one tackle for fun. Passes on his outside to Tommaso Allen again, who finds the flick pass up to the replacement number 20. In this case, is Zuliani. Tommaso Allen is Scottish, says Power Bite. And also, I hope you play rugby game, says Darren. I would probably not go that well now. I've lost that speed that I used to have as a child. Also, don't really have a lot of size to me, so I wouldn't be very useful. The best thing that I could do is probably running drinks, and I'd probably pull a hamstring doing that. Now, kick downfield. Namibia, only one option there is to clear their lines from inside of the 22 with the form of Tian Swanepoel. Now 40 metres out, Italy have got themselves another line out. We have got their All Blacks going to drill Namibia, says the Knight. I think what we've seen in this game is Namibia, they were very solid for the first 40 minutes. Then as we got near the end of the game, they started wearing away a little bit. The fatigue started to set in, and that has probably been hurting them a little bit more in this game than they would have liked. Thanks for bringing us the content, says Monsieur. No worries at all. Thoughts on Jesper Wiese starting for the Box? I think it's a bold call to go with him. I know that he is definitely the out-of-form number 8 option, but maybe this is the game that they want to try and get him back into the momentum and the swing of things. Imagine Italy beating the All Blacks. There's Big Guns Yolo. The thing is, it could be just around the corner. Who knows? I feel like Italy are getting closer and closer to bridging that gap between them and a few of those other sides in the top 10. Now 3 minutes remaining. I do see that it is Lorenzo Canoni who has received player of the match. Now Fiver throwing the ball in, nicely taken again by the Italians. Their line-out's been relatively solid. I need Italy to upset France for real, says the Knight. Now going down the short side, another offload. Italy don't want to take this ball to ground. They want to keep on breaking it, and it is going to be a brilliant run. And another try for the Italians. Zuliani down the wing scores it. Tell you what, Italy are starting to, what was my score prediction? 44-13. I just need like a last minute try from the Namibians and I will be right in the ballpark. And no chance, says Wise One. A good run down the wing. Zuliani receives the offload, steps around the defensive line. Devin Rizzo, he'll be disappointed with that. Italy beats the spread. Here's Wise One, and also cheers for the Samish bang on coverage and some bloody good banter. Says Kerno Wick, and we still have got 3 more games happening later on tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. The next match we are covering is Ireland versus Romania, and that one will be kicking off at around 1:30 a.m. So around 40 minutes time, Romania will enjoy a 3-digit score from Ireland or South Africa, says Chronic Underachiever. And let's go, says Big Guns. And also Italy won't beat New Zealand, but they have beaten France before, says Chris Seo. Now, lining up this kick to Tommaso Allen. He was probably pretty unlucky not to get man of the match in this game. 6 from 6 for his kicking success. Thoughts on Russian following everyone on Twitter and only following Scotland Rugby, says Monsieur. Interesting tactic, trying to get in the head of the opposition. I don't think Scotland will mind that much. Overall, I'm hyped for Wallabies' first match, says the Knight. And also, let's calm down here. The Italians okay, but it's Namibia, not South Africa, says Fleshin. And there as well. And also, not just there though. South Africa, UK, West Indies. Must have millions on top of that, says Brian. Now 30 seconds remaining. Namibia, they will be kicking off to the Italians. If they can have one last burst here, would be absolutely awesome to see. But it's nicely taken short by the captain. Now 15 seconds remaining. Italy looking to get themselves that points differential up just that little bit more. Bruno out on the wing. Nice step from him, breaking through 2 Namibian tackle attempts. Rizzo able to clean it up. We have got another donation on this stream from Franz Smith. Thank you very much, mate. Enjoy your multitasking, Hamish, and sense of humour. Kudos for doing marathon session, says France. But yeah, we're certainly going to be tired tomorrow, but we are going to sneak a few more hours sleep, and then we are back in it for 3 more games of this Rugby World Cup. Nice handling from Namibia. Did end up going backwards off the drop ball, but they still have a chance here to score one last try. Looks like they are willing to just slow it down, though, hitting it up with the forwards. Italy have beaten France 3 times in 44 attempts. Now, backline. Another big shot on Dezel. It just seems like the gaps for Italy's defence have stopped opening up in the second 40 minutes. We have got there, I think this might be a poll that depended on points differential. So all the big teams must beat teams like Namibia with big scores. And we were shocked by the AB's loss. I was really shocked how they performed. How was the scenario for them to qualify for the next stage? They need to win all of them from here. They certainly do. They definitely need to beat Italy. That is the main goal for the ABs from here. Now Italy, they have decided that even though they've got the ball back after the drop ball from Namibia, they are going to have one last attacking chance. Or are they? It looks like now they're considering putting the ball out. No, Gardabisi will sling it across to the right-hand side. It's great to see that the Italians want to keep on playing here, try and get themselves one more point and increase their points differential. Now slinging past, beautiful hands. Capuzio, he has dropped that one this time though. And Namibia, they managed to clean it up and they want to keep on playing. That is the kind of rugby that I'm sure the crowd will be appreciating. Neither side wanting to put this one out. Now going for the kick in behind from Namibia. It will be play on for just that little bit longer. The ball pulls up just inside of the field of play. And Italy, do they kick it into touch? The crowd are trying to tell them don't do it. And the ball has stayed in the field of play. I think he tried to put that out and he's made a massive mistake there. Now Namibia selling the dummy here from the youngster Tian Swanepoel. Both of these sides almost out on their feet with the fatigue kicking in. Italy get themselves another penalty. Namibia need to do it for Hamish so you can get your prediction. Says Mansour, though now Italy have got another chance. Gardabisi ball on the outside to a dog Wu, who's got plenty of pace. That low centre of gravity, and he drives towards the corner. 50 points for the Italians being brought up here over Namibia. I get rid of my Australian citizenship if they don't win one game, says Chronic. And well done to both teams for keeping the play going, says Cited there. Yeah, it did end up costing Namibia one last try, but you have to say, even in that last try being scored by the Italians, Namibia, they had fight right to the final whistle. I don't agree. I don't want to agree with Krampus here, but why should they? Says Gleason. And also their forwards are the real deal, says Stone Cold. And what time are you going on for the next match? We are going on in 25 minutes time for that game between Ireland and Romania. So be sure to check out that live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It should be an entertaining game, a high-scoring one for the Irish as well. But a dog Wu, just pure power. He's got legs the size of tree trunks. And he's been able to score it there at the end. Can you imagine a final between France and Argentina? Not really, no. But it could happen. And Italy also will give a tough fight to all the teams in this group. And also Italy Wu, says Big Guns Yolo. And there as well. But the 50 points on the board so far for Tommaso Allen. He has sat 7 from 7 kicks. Can he make it 8 from 8 with this final kick being taken in the very near future? But I should mention to anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is hugely appreciated you all being here. Like I mentioned, we have got Ireland versus Romania just around the corner. So if you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I will be up for the Irish. Says, it was Connor and brother boys are on. What are you doing? Says Richard. And there as well. But that is going to be the end of the match. The kick is successful. Sitting 8 from 8 now for the Italians. Never in a million years coming over seriously, says Charles. And there as well, and imagine what ABs in France will do to Namibia, says Alfie. And it's a tough day at the office for Namibia, although I do have to say first half still put on a very good performance. The second half, it showed that the Italians, maybe they had just that little bit more stamina in the tank. But yeah, second half, different game to the first, which has actually been the case in both of the Rugby World Cup games at this stage. Both halves, first half-wise, for New Zealand versus France as well as Namibia versus Italy, they were close. Second half completely changed the game. My camera is freezing a little bit. I will try and fix that before the next live stream, ladies and gentlemen, so that it doesn't do it too much more. If Italy don't get the last try, I would have got all the points for my Super picks so far. SMH, says Albi. And then Italy have no chance. 50 plus points with pineapple on top of the pizza. And my prediction says Chronic underachiever. And also we have got there in the chat as well. Feel bad for Namibia. They played great in the first half. Yeah, I think they did very well throughout that first 40 minutes, Namibia. And they will take a lot out of this game. They will learn that they need to try and pace themselves a little bit more throughout the 80 minutes, although that is hard to do up against an Italian side that were trying to push that pace as quickly as possible. Yeah, like I mentioned, the next live stream that we have got, it is between it is between Ireland and Romania, and that will be taking place in only 20 minutes time. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.